Okay, we are live. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 4 of The Gatekeepers, where we are going to be discussing leveling tonight. I am joined with Max from Legion of Myth and Bruce, who is currently muted because he is doing us the courtesy of not chewing into his mic. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce. You're so nice. Oh, that's right,
Anyway.
Spider. Oh, I'm changing my name. I'm changing my name.
There you go.
Forgot about that. Oh, can I change it once I'm in? I can't change it once I'm in, can I? Yes, I can. There it is.
All right.
Spider Monkey Max.
Well, there we go. Okay. Looks like Shadzar, it's a solo show for you tonight.
I will get people in. You post on our Discord, and I could do an add everybody on there. Give me a minute. Uh-oh. Did he freeze again? Is it just me?
Yeah, I forgot to do that like an idiot. Okay, good. It didn't completely fail us. Fucking, I don't know what the hell is up with my router today.
It's because you need to use it. That's
exactly. It only ever does this on the nights when I'm planning to actually do something that requires it. Like, oh, fuck you, buddy. Yeah. Anyway. We'll go ahead and just give it a couple.
It's my Discord. I want to send it to everyone. If they don't like it, they can leave it. Ah! Oh, wait, they just all left it.
Ah.
Okay.
Well. I suppose we can just go ahead and get started. Yeah, so main topic of the night is going to be, in general, the leveling process, talking about how it's handled between different games, with really the central point likely boiling down to what has kind of become the age-old question of experience points versus milestones, because it seems like no matter where you go, someone's got a strong opinion about one or the other. So let's just go ahead and here we go. Just go ahead and move right into that. I think I can pretty safely assume what your thoughts on this are, Max. But
okay. Please speak for me and tell me what my opinions are. No, I'm cool with that because I want to see.
Okay.
The DM.
I have a.
You're charmed. You're charmed.
I get the feeling. I get the very distinct feeling that you are very much against milestones. That you do not care for these things at all in any way, shape, or form. But prove me wrong, please.
Okay.
By all means.
Wrong. Sort of. You're partially right. No, the milestone thing, it's just, for once in my life, I won't be verbose. Yeah, I just lied to you all. I don't like milestones in TSR Dungeons & Dragons, or in Palladium, or in Earthdawn, or in any other game that has character classes that gain experience in different ways. The games are not designed for milestones. Flip side, if a game is designed for milestones, and one of the things I think we should do, and I'll put this back to you because you're the host of the show, of course, but let's define milestone real quickly, because I had somebody argue with me and said that what I'm doing, because I do like a kind of a hybrid thing between milestone and XP, is like, well, it's not actually milestones. So let's define milestones so we're all talking about it the same way here.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So for the sake of definition, milestone leveling in case of what we're arguing here is going to be when you hit specific points within your game be it a specific plot point, a specific location, a specific challenge that the players have overcome. You hit a specific predetermined point, and the reward for the players overcoming that point is giving them a character level. That is what I would consider to be milestone leveling. You're hitting a milestone within the game. You're achieving a certain predetermined thing. Here you go. You did it. Character level.
Okay. Then I don't use milestones ever.
Yeah.
Because I don't level people up at a certain point. I don't accept the concept of everybody's got to be the same level, so everybody's equal, because I just don't believe in that. But I do use a form of milestone leveling, even in my old school D&D games, for other concepts. Like, if this happens, if they talk to the old man and get the information from him, I'll give them 50 experience points. I consider it the same as killing a creature. Like, if you bypass a certain area, if you do these certain things, so it's not just about kicking in doors and killing creatures. I do this partially because I keep players poor. So, it's like, what about gold XP? You can have all the gold XP you want. Just guess what? I didn't give you any gold. So I need to, I need to find a way to balance that again.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, I have used milestones in the past as I've described them, and I've actually currently in a game right now that's using it. And that game is what actually got me to thinking about doing this topic, because we recently, I think it was 2 sessions ago, we overcame a big challenge, and the GM, who's a good friend of mine, so I'm not going to call him out by name, but he did something that to me was kind of like, I don't know if I like that so much, because it's one of those things that on paper and in your head, especially when you're less experienced like he is, it sounds cool. But the longer you've been playing this hobby, the more it sort of feels like, well, I just kind of feel like I got cheated out of earning those levels. He gave us 3 levels at once. Mm-hmm. And that kind of had me going, wait a minute. So, yeah, that was what got me to thinking on this again, and sort of reminded me why I kind of gave up on the whole milestone leveling thing myself. But at the same time, where I stand on the experience points thing is I really don't like the way that D&D or WotC 1 through 3E or Pathfinder handle that, because I don't want to do all the extra maths of adding, tens, hundreds, thousands of points. Granted, yeah, it's not that much, but it adds up to time wasted. I'd rather keep it simple and use something that can be added together in a matter of seconds, single-digit seconds, as opposed to double-digit seconds in the case of some people that I know. Or triple-digit seconds.
For a moment,
but what about you, Bruce?
You were
What are your
doing all
thoughts
the
on that?
Texas Instrument speak and spell.
What's that?
For a moment, you sounded like you were doing a Texas Instrument speak and spell.
Oh, good. My internet must be loving me right now. But yeah, in that case, but I was just basically just saying, in terms of my stance on the experience points versus milestones, not a big fan of milestones, because there's way too much, I've noticed, particularly among younger, newer, less experienced GMs, way too much of the incentive to give out levels too quickly and too many at a time. It's just happened to me. But also not the biggest fan of how, WotC D&D or even old school D&D handles experience, because I'd rather not have to calculate potentially thousands of points worth of experience when I could just use something simpler. And I do understand that not every older version of D&D does that, which is why I do want to discuss some of the other options that are out there with you guys too.
I want to hear what Max has to say.
About which part of that? When it comes to old D&D, the character classes are separate. Shad, I mentioned it earlier. Shadzard actually typed it into the chat as well. You've got thieves that need 1,250. You've got magic users that need 2,500 to get up to a level. There's a reason for that. You want your thief to level up so he doesn't die, so you don't die.
Mhm.
Like there isn't supposed to be this. We're all level 3 now. No, when that adventure says for a character, 5 to 7 characters, levels 1 to 3, you want the thief a 3 and the wizard a 1. Well, maybe not the wizard a 1, but if you're using that typical XP system, the wizard being an investment and the thief being the guy that's hopefully going to stick his tongue in the poison and his finger in the trap and not you, and maybe can make a saving throw now. So yes, I definitely use creature XP. So if you kill something, if there's 6 of you and you kill a monster with 600 XP, that's 100 XP apiece, and we move on. Treasure I deal with at the end, depending. But I'll also, if you're pretty awesome in that fight, I don't mean just because you rolled a couple of natural 20s. I mean, like, you're engaged in the game, you're engaged in the fight, the other players are happy, you're happy, everybody's having a fun time, it's moving along, whether it takes 10 minutes or 10 hours, then I give extra XP for that too. You know what? I mean, let me give you you get a 10% bonus already because of your, high strength, but I'm going to give you another 10% bonus just because you're keeping it going, we're having a fun time, you didn't argue, didn't complain, so forth. I also give out role-playing experience. If you play your class or you play your character as your character is kind of described, some games are better at this than others. For example, Forbidden Lands, you actually already have a relationship with the other characters. But in D&D, if you're a lawful good paladin and you're sticking within that, but you actually have people believing that you're playing a paladin and you talk to NPCs like you're a paladin, not just some dude eating potato chips at the table, I give extra experience points for that. I also dock experience points for being late. Show up to my game late, I will dock your ass experience points.
That sounds good.
But and then I mean I've got a couple other things I do. I stole this from Heathen Dog. If he's watching right now, sorry, you can't copyright this. I stole it. But no, he did something in his mage game that in the 90s that I started using since then. At the end of every session, write down one thing your character learned. And I don't just mean rolling a natural 20 is good. No. Something that your character actually learned for some sort of character growth. And sometimes it's simple. Sometimes all you had was, a big fight and some back and forth. But you can say, I learned trolls are immune to fire. Or no, actually, they're not immune to fire. But, trolls are immune to weapons or they regenerate. Well, that's something your character didn't know beforehand. Unless you're a player of like 20-some years, I'm not going to give you that. That's a cop-out. But especially if you're a new player, but you get the idea. And if it's legit, if it's something legitimate that your character learned, I'll give you experience points for that as well.
Yeah, that's a fair idea. I actually quite like that idea.
This is how I dock XP, Shadzar. Minus 500. There you go.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
well,
it.
You got your answer there. But yeah. Wild Knot hits on a point that I've kind of come to agree with over the years. This is the biggest problem that I've always seen with milestones is they always seem kind of arbitrary. Like I could see it working if the game is the right kind of game for it. If it's something where, maybe you're playing a shorter campaign or something. Maybe you're only set to play a campaign for 10 sessions or something. And, I want to make sure that they're level 3 by the end for whatever fucking reason you have. Okay, you might have an argument for it then. But generally speaking, you're just kind of picking at random, not 100% at random, but it's arbitrary. It's kind of just random. I've decided that because you did this, okay, here you go, you get a character level. When you're young and dumb and inexperienced, that can be kind of fun. Like I said earlier, it just happened to me a few weeks ago, and I just felt like I kind of got cheated out of levels I could have had fun playing through and earning.
Okay, Shadzar just made me want to throw something at somebody.
Uh-oh.
It's the Mike Merle's comment. Yeah. No, not after each session. No, it's supposed to be the unwritten rule back in the days. And by unwritten rule, I saw it in a bunch of magazines. And I think some important people mentioned this as well. Important in quotes. 3 to 5 adventures, not sessions, adventures. So 3 to 5 adventure modules, 3 to 5 adventures that you write up on your own, whatever. 3 to 5 adventures per level. That could be 10, 15 sessions. You're not supposed to level like this. How do you learn your abilities for your character class? Sure, for the levels 1 through 3, I get it. Those are pretty simple, but how do you know how to properly use your spells or how to properly use the items you've got? You don't.
They won't know. They won't know shit.
Right. So you
No.
have to have that time. It's just boring. Well, how about stop playing your character boringly then? I mean, that's not on me. That's on, the adventures are out there.
I agree with the 3 to 5 adventures, but I'm going to reel that back for a moment because there's something that Paizo did right, and I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I do like having one XP chart for all the classes, and you want to make them kind of quote unquote balanced. I get that. This is not going to be popular for people that don't like Watsy editions or Paizo, but play the game on the slowest possible progression that you fucking can. You make the players earn every XP, monster experience points, good role playing. They used to have it was 1/8 of a level, I think was the most you should ever give, and you should never give that more than once per level in second edition AD&D. Some people give out treasure experience. I really don't. But it's an option. Because if you design your own experience point charts and make it as much of an uphill slog as possible. I'm not saying be like some grognards that are like, after about 10 adventures, the players get to level 3. No, don't do that to the players. You'll have no table. You can have a game like that, but the people playing it are going to be clones, and it's going to be an echo chamber. I'm just going to set that out there. So you want to have a little bit of a small drip feed. Nothing too obscene, but I'm going to say even more like 5 total adventures of the old basic first ed, second ed AD&D stuff. Now, D&D 3.0 and all that stuff, you might have to retool all the encounters because really, is 2 orcs worth a CR1? I don't think so. I think it all depends on 1, how they're set up, but 2, if it's just a run-of-the-mill orc warrior 1s, most second level parties are going to snipe those guys from afar and not worry about the encounter in that 10 foot by 10 foot room. Okay, so do that. Just understand your player is going to try to minimize threats, and so you can be a douche and not be a douche, but be an adjudicating DM. You can, say the only person that was at risk was the fighter, and for 3 rounds he would do nothing but try to throw arrows along with the archer at the bad guys. There was no real threat. The orcs were not armed by the adventure with missile weapons. They were trying to be in an ambush. And because I'm an idiot and I let you guys do a perception check, I let you see the ambush ahead of time instead of making you suffer it, which is how it really should have been. And then you would get your precious CR1 XP. But if you make the level, if you make it a very long slog numerically, now you can get in there. And if you feel that the game is progressing too slowly, and as a DM, if you ever have these thoughts, just give up the shield. Just give up your dice. Stop. Play Clash of Clans for a hobby. But if you ever feel like you're needing to actually do something, you can always add more XP. You can always pad the encounters. You can always give Monty Hall-like results if you don't like the fact that, well, if I do this, it'll be 4 to 6 adventure modules that they'll go through before they actually level up. And you can have those thoughts, but you're just wrong. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's pretty fair. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on board with you with that, where it, in my experience too, it tends to breed more of a desire and more investment into the game. It ties into one of the later points I wanted to talk about, which was the pacing and how the way you approach leveling can really affect the pacing of your game. If things are moving too fast, your players can get bored. They'll lose interest because everything's just going by like this. Nothing's sitting there, nothing's there to sink in, nothing's getting absorbed, and the engagement is naturally just going to go down. At the same time, if you take things way too slow, you're going to have the same problem. As you said, don't force them to go through 10 adventures to give them one level. But yeah, slowing things down, in my experience, it tends to be a good idea. At least every group I've played with in games that have gone slower, we've been more invested in the game, more invested in what we were doing, more excited to come and play and earn new things. And also be able to play with the things we've already got. Because, yeah, you want to actually be able to use some of the tools that you're getting along the way and make good use of them, not just use them twice and never again because, oh, now I got a new shiny thing already. But
I think my caveat to that is you've got to set the precedent even at the low levels. You've got to start at first level where it's like, no, you're not going to get second level today. You're gonna have your 1/8 or your 3 to 5 or whatever your system is, and if you stay pretty consistent with that, if things are staying, to use the term that I don't like, but everybody understands it, the same challenge rating type stuff, then it should work out the same, because as you get tougher, the monsters get tougher, the XP seems to roll in. Plus, especially with higher level characters and older editions of D&D, you have, magical item creation. And let's think of the downtime that you're supposed to have. That's why I'm still annoyed by you gained 3 levels. How did you train those 3 levels? Ding! Oh, look at this. I'm amazing. I just all of a sudden woke up this morning and I can kick ass and take initials because I don't have time for names. Let's go. They're part of the character progression is that training time. And the good part of that training time is, fighters obviously get armor made. Wizards learn spells and create potions, and just do some just move it forward so that you can get some of that done. And that isn't stuff you just go to the wizard shop and buy. At least you're not supposed to. And then even outside of that game, I'm going to bring up the one drink. Everybody just drink now because I'm going to say it a lot today. Earth Dawn, you actually spend your experience points, the legend points, to raise your talents. You don't do a level and then get everything that comes with that level. You actually get everything that comes with the level, and then you prove you are that level. It's like, okay, you can do all the stuff that's required for that level. You are now that level. So it takes that and flips it on its head. So you raise your stuff with those experience points and then become the level after you prove you can do everything worthy of it.
Yeah, well, I guess I can go ahead and safely move it over to this one.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah,
that's
no, that's fine. I'm not being as rigid about this, about my show, as some of the other ones that were in the past. But no, yeah, that's something. That's one of the reasons why I'm kind of glad that you came on to this one. Is I know you've got your experience with. Now it's my turn to make everyone drink Earth Dawn. And because you've told me in the past about how they use that system where you've got basically the almost parallel forms of experience, one of which you're spending to actually earn the stuff that you're doing, and then to actually go up again to be able to earn more of that. Well, you got to prove that you can actually do what you just took. So to me, that's an interesting system. I'm going to put up another one from earlier here. Web Warriors point here reminds me a lot, like I mentioned briefly in last week's show on DM Bloodworth's channel, Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. Yes, I am plugging him. By the way, everyone, not that I need to say it because almost everyone here already does, make sure to follow Max over on Legion of Myth, and make sure to follow Bruce Lombardo over at Bruce Lombardo of Dix Division.
Yes, only follow me, don't follow Heathen Dog.
Well, Heathen Dog didn't actually come into the stream. He's just sitting in the chat. Although I shouldn't say just sitting in the chat. He's gracing us with his presence in the chat. But yeah, Web Warriors point here touches, it's very similar to the way that I personally like how Savage Worlds does it, where you've got your 5 points of experience that you need to earn a rank up with. And, you've basically got 5 stages for each of the games, 5 ranks. So technically it's like 25 levels. And you can earn anywhere from 1 to 3 XP per session, depending on how invested and how much you actually do. You're going to average 2. So on average, you're looking at 3 sessions most of the time to level up. If it's a slow session, it's going to be even lower than that. If you did something really goddamn incredible, it could be faster than that. But generally speaking, it sets a pretty solid pace in terms of, what that game is trying to achieve. But at the same time, it kind of also throws back to it's not a perfect thing, because depending on what you're trying to do, Matt makes a great point here. Crafty makes a great point here too. PCs need to reach experience levels and milestones at different times, because just as in real life, no one's on the same experience path. It's every system's going to have its pros and its cons, and Savage Worlds being homogenized like that is normally designed to be that you give the experience out with the same amount for the group. I've always kind of house ruled it as well. If your character does something a little more amazing, I'm going to give you that extra experience point. If your character is less invested and you're not doing as much, you're actively not engaging with things, I'm going to give you less. So people are naturally going to level up at different times. The thing there is, like with a game like Savage Worlds, it doesn't make a huge difference. You're not going to get wildly left behind. But yeah, I mean, that's how I've always preferred to do it, is to, give things based on what the individual characters are doing using a simplified system like that, which doesn't transfer well to every game. It doesn't work as well in a game like D&D or Pathfinder. It can, but it doesn't always work.
Did Bruce pass out?
Brucey.
What do you want to hear? What do you want to hear from me? I'm agreeing with that. And if you're at my table, you would notice that there are players that I have that they are further along than other players.
Mm-hmm.
Because I award being on time. I don't dock people for being late. You just don't get experience from those encounters that you missed.
Screw that. You're disruptive to the table. That, to me, that's disrespect. You're disrespecting all the other players. You lose XP. I'm a dick about that.
I'm going to probably start adopting more of that, and that's fine. I've been called names before. I'm okay with being called.
Now, to be fair, I've never done online play. Online play might be a different animal completely. But I'm talking when we're sitting around the table, because people come in with their backpacks, got to undo everything. They're everybody's got to do their chit chat. Like, hey, did you bring me something to eat, dude? We're in the middle of the game.
Middle of a fucking game.
Yeah.
Been here for 2 hours. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm disrupting the other speakers.
No,
all right. I'm muting again.
I was going to say online is a different animal in the sense that there's less of an excuse to not be on time. In real life, if you're meeting in person, you can have real life happen to you a lot more easily. If you're meeting up online, you're all at your own homes, presumably. You just 9 times out of 10 got to walk into the room with your computer, or more often than that these days, whip out your fucking smartphone. The internet's with you. You don't have as much of an excuse to miss or be late online unless something's really getting in the way. So in my experience with that, players are more tempted to be late online because they feel like, oh, well, it's not as big a deal. You don't have a scheduled place you have to be, and it's more of a problem.
See, I start at the start time. If you want that, beginning banter and so forth, show up early. I'm dead serious. Now, to be fair, if you send me a message or give me a phone, back in the old days, give me a phone call or tell me you're going to be running late because you have to go into work or something like that. Look, real life happens. But if you're just randomly showing up late, sorry guys, late. Again, you're disruptive at the table. It's harder for people to focus. And if you continually do that, I'll just say, yeah, we either have to change the time of the game or you're gone. well, it's just a game. It's not work. Yeah, you know what? This hobby includes other people. That's like when you raid in an MMO. You don't get to be a dick because other people are in that raid. Other people are in that group expecting stuff. It's time for you to. What did one of my old raid leaders say? Sit down, shut up, and keep your eye on the puck.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's the biggest issue with that kind of thing. And I mean, I think I would handle it a bit more like how Bruce does. I think I'd kind of fall in between you guys a little bit if I was to adopt something like that, where in general, I'd handle it a little more how Bruce does, where it's like, well, you weren't here, you missed the event, so you're not getting experience for the event. Your character wasn't involved. And if it starts becoming more of a problem, okay, now you're getting penalties because you're making it a problem until such point as, if it reaches that point, they need to be talked to and possibly leave the game.
I mean, sometimes it's just a simple matter of changing when you play, but I've really, it's for as much as I say things like that and some of the other stuff I do in the games that I've never played in your game, they very rarely come up. like this isn't even a major issue. It's just it has happened. It's happened in every group I've had, usually once or twice, and then we move on.
Yeah. Luckily, I've only run into a player like Mr. Max Boyven mentions. I've only run into, I think, a grand total of 3 players like that in the 20 some odd years that I've been doing this. So it's not as big a deal as when we talk about we make it seem. I like this one. Bonus XP for the people who helped me not break my back around my house.
There you go. Well, that goes back to like Heathen Dogs. GM takes bribes.
Yeah, very true.
You remember the card for Munchkin? Watch the GM's card go up a level.
I don't remember that one specifically, but it probably is in the deck. Yeah.
There's a bunch of go up the levels where basically you suck the GM's deck, and it's a good thing to see that.
That'll give you a level right there.
You probably get an immortal. You are now a new tier of character. You're an immortal. There's only 7 pages of rules for you. Have fun. But I think that having the differing levels of characters in the party, I think that also accentuates some things where you would have people kind of like in the real world where you're going to have guys that they do OJT and they get immediate rewards where other people have to study and practice and do things that the human body would not normally be engaging in before they can start receiving their rewards, which is why the wizard, best example I can think of, is an investment class. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe we should be investing in the cleric because he can do damn near anything. His 7th level spells are really badass. He can wear armor in the battle, raise dead, etc. But I'm a huge fan of taking a concept from way back in the day and still pushing that, even though the modern game theory does not support it. Because you don't have to saturate the world that you are giving your players with all of the new game theories that you might not subscribe to. You might have just evolved additions in your game, but you're still trying to run it like you're 12 or 15 or 20, and you're still trying to give that sense of wonder to your players. Well, Timmy is a 7th level thief. He's got a 36% chance to do thiefly stuff. Bob the wizard, he's still got 200 or 1,000 experience points before he gets to level 5. Just my own opinion.
Yeah. That was something I haven't played 2nd edition or 1st edition as much as I'm sure you guys have. 2nd edition especially, I know I haven't played as much as you have, Max, because I think, didn't you say in the past that's the one you started with?
I technically started with either Redbox or AD&D. I think it was AD&D, but I played that like once and then Satanic panicked out of it. Thanks, Lutheran school. But second edition AD&D, that's where I have almost all of my experience. I'd say 90% plus of my experience in Dungeons and Dragons. Well,
Yeah.
no, 80% of my experience. I did play a lot of 3035 also.
Yeah, that was
One of the things I do want to mention, and is just that I haven't heard anybody bring it up directly here. Crafty kind of touched on this while making a point about Forbidden Lands, but I don't give out experience points just for showing up.
yeah.
Like he was talking about like how Forbidden Lands does XP, and one of them is there. Did the players show up? No, I caveat with, did that player show up, was not disruptive at the table, and from my perspective, injected him or herself to the best of that player's ability. Look, new players aren't going to be the same as old players. Their type A personalities are going to be different than, people are more reserved, and I recognize all of that. But did the player try, and was the player not disruptive? That has to go alongside of, did the player show up?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, just showing up to the table. Like, I've had plenty of bad experiences out there with people who just showed up to the table and then didn't engage.
Shadzar, that's exactly. I'm sorry. Answering Shadzar here. That's exactly how Earth Dawn works, because you get what they call them legend points in Earth Dawn. Oh, hold on, drink.
2 drinks.
There we go. The way legend points work is they're used to raise your talents. Think of them, the most equivalent thing I could compare them to in D&D would be like feats. They're magically powered abilities. Is you use them to raise those up, but you also use them to bind yourself to magic items. You also use them to bind yourself to your group. You use them to, so definitely in the magic item side, yes, that's how you do it. Like, I could sit here and say, I've got, 1,000 legend points. I could either raise a talent up 1 point, or I could get the next rank on this magic sword that will make it another, like, equivalent of +1 or something. Yeah, there's absolutely that in Earth Dawn, and obviously the different disciplines, character classes, have different things that they're going to want to bind to. So no character class goes unheeded. No character class is ignored. It wouldn't be, well, that screws over the wizards. No, not at all. Every discipline has it.
There's another follow-up to that for you. Does Earth Dawn do this purposefully to slow the leveling speed?
Maybe. I don't know what the original designer's intent was for that. I don't think so. But maybe the way Earth Dawn does it, it uses the Fibonacci sequence. So if you're paying 200 now, you're paying 300 next, then 500, then 800, and all of a sudden you're up there like, oh my God, I got to pay 5,500. So yeah, so it slows you down that way. I don't want to say it was inherently to slow down. It's for choices. What choice do you want to make? What is more important to you going forward? Having an extra rank in taunt or an extra rank in melee weapon? Because that is a magical ability in this game, or can be a magical ability in this game. Doesn't have to be. Or do you add a bonus to your armor to give yourself resistance to, I don't know. I mean, more protection, obviously, but their armors can do other things as well.
So I want to highlight something that's a bit off topic, but that I am okay with us kind of veering off the topic to touch on it a little bit later, because Mr. Max Bovian just put in a good question too. Webboy asks, how do you minimize disruption without killing the mood? He feels like he's bad at that. Webboy, we will come back around to that in a little bit. Right now, I want to touch on Mr. Max. Do you limit leveling up to in-between adventures during downtime? I usually try to myself, yes. I prefer to do it that way. I don't always do it that way. I play it kind of situationally. If a situation would reasonably call for permitting the players to level up their characters mid-adventure, like if it's just, hey, you found a place to rest in the middle of, whatever dangerous area you're in, you're resting for the night, cooling down, and, we can make a reasonable argument that the experience you've gained here can be used to help yourself prepare for what's coming forward, because you're in the same place, you have an idea of what to expect now. I will let the players level up in situations like that. Generally, though, I prefer to use the downtime thing because it does make a little bit more sense, but I play it a little bit situationally.
Bruce, my answer is pretty... Oh.
We haven't heard as much from Bruce. It's mostly just been you and me.
I'm a dick So if you level up, you might have to wait for 2 or 3 weeks for the adventure to be over.
Oh, wow.
So you can go to town and train. And training, you got to spend money to stay in or to eat and all that. And then you have to level up, and that might take you from just a week to maybe a month. It might take that long because not only are you leveling up, you're trying to coordinate with your friends that you went on an adventure with. And then when somebody else dings and they get their feet and they get their ability to do something new along their profile, hey, can we spend about an extra 10 days in town? Can I spend 10 extra days in town and make this weapon? Sure. You ask them if they want to do that. Boy, you get a nice little argument at the table. Dude, we have to level. Well, I thought after we get done leveling, I could spend time doing this, but I have to level first. You're asking us to spend another half month in town when we could be out finding treasure and getting money. You have these great arguments like that. And I love doing that. You can't level in the middle of a dungeon. You really can't. You could, if you want to make it Diablo-esque. Go ahead. I really don't want to make my games Diablo-esque. I want to force the players to have a couple birthdays they celebrate while they're in the campaign. And I think that you should do that. You need to not be afraid to draw things out and say, for 3 months, you guys are in this town because the snows are so thick. And the wizard is there going, if only I was 9th level, I could teleport us. And you just grin because you know you can stretch out that hall to 9th level for the wizard until the end of days. You really could. And you aren't a bad person for doing that, because at a certain point, the magic will break your campaign. Just acknowledge that, prepare for it, and when those days happen, have some things going on in the background that can directly affect the player. Years ago, we had the Blood War. In 2nd edition, I know Max didn't like it, but I used the Blood War as a time to play with the 2nd edition magic system. So
Wait, the blood war? Like between demons and devils?
Yeah.
No, I absolutely love it. I don't like the fact that Sigil exists where they can walk around singing Kumbaya.
I'm not a big fan of that either. I like the Blood War. I think we should use it in any game we have.
In fact, I use more Yugoloth than anything else. The mercenaries between the two.
Yes. What I was doing for a while was anytime you would pop a teleportation spell, there was a chance that a demon would pop a gate right there. And they would just come and invade. And then he'd come and invade, and then he'd gate some friends in, and they'd gate their friends in. So wizards were telling other wizards, please don't use teleport. It made for a good narrative. And the players eventually had to fix that. But I'm just telling you that I don't want to have the characters insta-level. I don't. I want the players to feel like their character is a person they could call up, they could talk to. It might be a figment of your imagination, or it might just be a collection of numbers on paper, but you're in this fantasy world. It's going to take you a few weeks to get back somewhere where you can find a mentor and give him a few beers so he can teach you how to swing that sword a little harder. I'm not sorry about this. It will take you a while. And I love breaking in new players whenever they think, oh, I just leveled. And you start to go through the process.
No, you just got the experience points to level.
Yeah, you just got the experience points. You haven't leveled yet. You got to go to town. And in the old days, we had to pay 2,000 gold or some such to level. Do you remember those, Max? The optional rules to level. You have to pay a trainer.
Yeah. I have them pay trainers anyway, and it's a random. It's partially a random rule. If it's a major city, you can find a trainer pretty cheap. If you're out in the wilderness to get somebody to train you, it's going to be a bit more expensive, or usually a quest or a deed or something.
Nice.
I don't make it too annoying for them, because did level. They've done all the work to get there, but I want them to experience that they're still engaged in the world. Now, based on what you said, I kind of do something similar, but I tweak it a little bit. Remember, I play second edition AD&D, so THAC0's the thing for me. I'll give them their THAC0 and saving throw bonuses right away. What I won't do is give them any sort of non-weapon proficiencies and so forth. And I just kind of feel that with that, this is if they have like no opportunity to train. The other thing is, and this is similar to what you were saying, is usually the players will talk about it as in, hey, look, I'm only 200 experience points away. Can we just hang out in the dungeon for a little bit longer, do a few more fights or some crap like that? Like maybe one more adventure. Yeah, it'll slow you down a little bit, but then 3 of us can level up. Wizard isn't going to level up for 6 adventures anyway. We'll be in 2 more times before that sumbitch finally gets to level up.
Exactly.
So, but it gives them some things to talk about. Of course, I try to have them not sit there and say, hey, I just dinged, I leveled up. No. It's like, I really need to go get some training. I think I could fight these things better if I just got some more training. Well, how about let's go get some more gold to pay for that training? And then, kind of do it a little bit more in character. But
yeah. And the thing is that as much as everybody else says, I award experience points at the end of the game, I usually award experience points as they happen. First off, it allows me to use Discord and message the players that are currently engaged. Here's your XP for this encounter. Secondly, it also allows me to not have to worry about remembering what all they fought, what all they did, etc., etc. So Discord is Bruce's buddy. That's my favorite DM tool nowadays. It really is. Also, I don't mind having the players level up in the middle of the session. I like to run for like 8 or 12 hours. I'm sorry, I don't get to do it enough. So I want to run a long game. In the middle of the game, in the middle of my videos, they might have a level up situation where 4 guys are leveling up out of 6. And you have no excitement in the game whatsoever because everybody's looking at all the stuff they can do, their options or choices, and 2 months are burning away on the calendar. 2 fucking months.
I think
that's not enough. Heathen Dog says take a year.
Has you beat now, Bruce. Heathen Dog. When I run D&D again, I'll make leveling take a year. It'll solve the aging problem and let people do behind the scenes stuff like magical study, setting up a thieves guild and castle, and so on.
That's how it should be. That's how it should be.
You have to drink and piss your money away to go adventure again.
Yes. The thing is that if you go and there was a really good game back in second ed that I never had my own mitts on in my shelf, but it was Birthright. And I love playing Birthright. It was badass. You got to build stuff, kingdoms if need be. We never got that far. We always died. The fucking Gorgon. Anyway. But with Pathfinder, in the early runs of Pathfinder, there was an adventure path called Kingmaker. And they took the rules for that and expanded it big and put it into Ultimate Combat. And really, it wouldn't take much for you to take those little rules for building a kingdom and putting them out there for whatever game you're playing. Because they give you the units for currency and all that. You could just throw it into your DCC game or put it into your second ed AD&D or your BECME, whatever game you're playing, but you give the players the responsibility of having stuff. Now they've got skin in the game. You've got land. Oh, I could reward you with 10 heads of cattle. And now all of a sudden, now having these long stretches of downtime makes sense because you've got to go back to the farm and make sure your hands are there. You got to go back to your town and administer to your thieves guild. I love that. And I love how they baked it into a rule set. It got a lot further and deeper than what second edition did with Birthright or with the Den of Thieves or with the cleric book that they tried to show you. The Last Bastion, I believe.
Okay, why is nobody here playing Forbidden Lands? Because everything people want in the game is in Forbidden Lands. You got your hex crawl. You got you start building. Actually, you start building your stronghold at level 1. Well, there's no levels, but you start building it right away. It includes all of that from the get-go. I mean, this isn't to Bruce. This is like, it just seems kind of funny. It seems like so many conversations I've had in like the last 3 to 4 weeks have been like, Forbidden Lands does it. Forbidden Lands does. Yep, Forbidden Lands. Man, remember when this happened? Remember when that happened? Combine these 3 games together. Yeah, it's called Forbidden Lands. It's all there. I hope people get a chance to try that.
I look forward to eventually getting my hands on it and playing it, maybe going over towards it or stealing from it. It looks good. Any game that has hex crawl has my attention.
Yeah, unfortunately, they've changed the writing of the book to go woke in the second in the second printing of it. I saw the first printing, so it has real pronouns, not nonsense pronouns.
Okay, I'll look for the first printing, and I'll put it on their Discord too. Please go back to the first printing pronouns. I'm not sorry. I role play at a table with my friends. You cannot role play in real life. I mean, you can try, but I'm just not going to acknowledge your character.
Yeah. They're things. But
it's like
I'm sorry, I already answered that. So I'm trying to read chat and stick up with stay on top of that as well.
It's like that schluff that keeps making videos, and people are like, "Did you say this about him? Did you say there was a threat against him?" I don't really care. I would violently be ill with him, like in person. I can't stand the guy, and the way that the way that chat relay went that I sent you, like all I could think of was that like he would be there talking, and I would just be like, "Talking's done," and that would be it. And if that's a threat nowadays, oh dear God, you fucking pussies ruining society. Not you guys, but I mean, it's just like,
we're all what did I say? We're all did I say not asshats? I don't know. I said like every one of us is just on YouTube talking about the things we like to talk about. Some people take playing games of make believe and painting dolls too seriously.
We're all a bunch of random normal Joe schmoes sharing our opinions on the internet.
I only have one type of person I despise in this hobby, and those are the people who inject their quote unquote moral authority into my game or ruin the games I already play. Like not making your own. You can make your own, do whatever you want, but when you ruin the games I already play, but that's a story for a different topic.
We won't talk about. I will give credit to Evil Hat. They at least make their own games.
Cthulhu?
No. They make their own games. They might. They're not making games for.
I thought they did Call of Cthulhu.
They made a Cthulhu game, but it's not Cthulhu.
They didn't make Call of Cthulhu. They got the license to make a Cthulhu game, and then they were basically the ones who made the game, and then had this huge whole thing about how Lovecraft was a terrible person, but we're going to use his property anyway.
Yeah, and that's my entire deal with them. Like, either you accept the fact that this guy happened to live in the 1920s when the world was different,
and had his own little mental issues. Let's be honest.
Serious mental issues. He called himself Grandpa in correspondence. Can you, as a 30-something-year-old man, envision telling your friends, "Just call me Grandpa"? No. I'll grow into it. I don't really see it happening.
Aaron G. Rock.
Yeah.
Aaron G. Rock. I'm coming for you.
Like, Evil Hat makes their own games, and it's nice. They have their own insignia. I see it on a gaming store shelf. I stay away from it.
No, look for the frog. Always look for the frog. Frogs are always good.
Frog God Games makes great products. I'm surprised they're not canceled yet.
Fuck Lou Holtz.
Okay. Sorry, I'm getting off my soapbox.
Anyway, well, since we've gone a little bit off topic, let me go ahead and we'll go back to.
Let's bring this back. There are some good comments up there.
We'll go back to that question that Web Warrior asked earlier about minimizing disruption without killing the mood. And a few people in the chat gave some pretty good pointers on that. I'll see if I can fish them up.
Let's get chat involved before we start blabbing.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. That was a ways back. So anyway. No, I'm too far back. I'm bad at this whole internet thing. I don't know why people watch my shit. But yeah,
I script everything.
in terms of minimizing disruption, I've always found one of the key things is just making sure, like, it doesn't require a forceful hand, but just making sure that attentiveness is enforced from the get-go. You know, make sure the people are there to be there. Don't let them screw around on their phones. Like, if you're allowing them to use phones or tablets or something because they actually have, you know, the material they need on those, make sure
get a
that's
printer.
Just fair. Yeah, more people nowadays should have printers. I don't understand how people my age and younger can live without printers. But I'm an old man in a 35-year-old's body, so but yeah, making sure that they're there for the game, to be attentive, and just laying out kind of the ground rules from the get-go that, like, hey, you know, if something goes wrong, if I get a ruling wrong, if this happens, if that happens, leave it be. We'll talk about it when the session is done. You know, that's been my experience in terms of what tends to work well, which Missa says pretty well. You show up, be on time, be engaged, come with feedback. Show up, be on time, be engaged, come with feedback. If engagements is tough, because it can be. And at that point, you'll likely be rewarded for your time and effort. I pretty largely agree with that.
By the way, the 1 or 2 times that I'm late, I actually gave up bonus XP to the group. So one thing about the whole questioning of the rules and so forth, I believe in the concept that, hey, I'm not perfect. Crap, somebody's going to clip that. But it's okay.
Quick.
It's okay to question and correct one time.
Yeah.
But don't get into an argument with me. And the same thing, like when I was in, my most recent Dungeon Master that I was playing, we had somebody who was arguing quite a bit. And he came to me, he's like, dude, this isn't the way it's supposed to be played. It's this, that way, this way, that way, whatever. And I'm like, look, man, his game, his rules. I told him what the rule was in the book. He said he didn't want to do it that way. I'm playing by his rules. That's his game world. I'm not going to argue with him. It didn't get me killed. It didn't, it didn't completely rewrite my character where it's completely broken now. So the phones for game, I would like somebody to try to tell me what game reason, because you're not going to like my answers. What game reason? Tell me a game reason that somebody's going to need their phone. Okay, I can think of one. Just one. And by the way, your character sheet on your phone is not an option in my games. So I don't care if you keep it there, but you're going to have a physical one. Turn the Wi-Fi off. No devices at the table, take breaks. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, take breaks is a big one.
Yeah,
this
PDF of the book. That is the one. Yep.
This is one that I've done before. DM is the only one with the book at the table.
I let them keep a player's handbook at the table, but it's actually on the floor, not on the table. They don't get to have it on the table. It's on the floor in case they want to reference it. Everything else, that's for me. That's not for you. And by the way, I do the same thing when I'm playing the game. So,
see, the players I have are handicapped, and I'm going to say that publicly because they have to have Hero Labs. And by the way, I hate Hero Labs. I also hate Pathfinder for telling people that this is a hard game. You need an electronic device to play it. And so, like, these guys have tablets or their laptop or whatever.
We've got enough dice.
Yeah.
Can't stand that. I want to hear the clatter of real dice whenever I play.
Yes. You're not using an online roller with me.
There you go, Bruce.
Yep.
Thank you.
And that isn't a deal of you're just old. No, it's the fact that dice are to be rolled and they're to be heard. And please don't use the big metal dice on my fine table. But but they're there, and it's supposed to. Also, the RNG of software isn't. Well, let's just say it isn't perfect. Every programmer knows that. That would get you out of most of my games. I hate to say it that way, Indigo Dragon, but that would be disruptive to the other players, at least the ones that I played with. Flipping through books, they'll be like, "What are you looking for? Oh, did you see that picture?" And all of a sudden, people are sidetracked. Like,
squirrel.
It's like the person though. I had a guy at a table, and I mean, Heathen Dog might remember him, but people used to take his dice away from him because he just keep rolling his dice on the table when he wasn't doing anything. So what are you doing? I'm fidgety. Like, stop rolling your dice for no reason on the table.
Get him a spinner.
Yeah, there you go, fidget spinner, or roll it in something quiet.
Yeah, I hate the fact that the game I want to run threatens people with their mathematics skills, and so oh no, I need to have Hero Labs. The fuck do you need Hero Labs for? I don't want to fucking be in the middle of a dungeon and time to update. You fucking idiot. Excuse my French.
Well, Hero Lab is dead. There you go. Yeah. No, I think some of that has to do with the age, and also part of what I'm talking about is I don't play online. To this day, I've played one partial time online, and it was more of a hey, let's test to see if this thing works. It wasn't even a real game. No. I have next to no interest in it, even from people that I really trust and admire as game masters, because it isn't the same playing experience that I want to have in the game. I'd rather do something else with my time. As a dungeon master, as much as I would love to play with all you guys, I mean, I could do a one shot of something. I couldn't put my heart into it the way I would want to. I stand up when I DM. I walk around. I try to get in a little bit of character, unless I got a camera that's going to follow me around in a production crew.
Yeah, it's a very different kind of experience. Absolutely. And I mean, I can very safely say that as somebody who played exclusively at the table and now has to pretty much play exclusively online, because everyone that I played with pretty much doesn't live here anymore.
That happens.
Yep.
And that sucks. What major metro are you next to? What major metro are you living outside of?
I'm in San Diego County.
Okay.
Heathen Dog, I already mentioned that I stole that idea from you.
Yeah.
Apparently somebody missed the beginning of the stream.
Yeah, a bunch of people did.
You guys will have to wait for the other DM to show up.
Yeah.
You'll have to wait for the other DM to show up that believes in the everybody gets XP.
Well, yeah. Well, look, if you're there, if you're giving your time, as long as you're trying, you should get XP. Some days just don't go well for you. Let's be honest. So I don't penalize bad dice rolls. Yes, Crafty is right on that one. Your specialty dice? Go on. Your stream.
I made a full 25-minute video talking about dice because of how much of a fucking problem novelty dice and dice that are perfectly clear except for the little toy inside have become.
Yeah, no. I have to be able to read them. I mean, I'm pretty strict on a lot of things compared to people. The thing is once you get in the habit of them, nobody cares anymore because they're common sense rules. Like, you're not going to roll before I ask you to. Look, I got a 20. No, you didn't. All right, go ahead and roll. Sorry. And I'm strict about that because if I don't do that, all of a sudden that 7 gets picked up, but the 20 stays on the table. It's like, come on, guys. Because I do believe in the power of dice rolls. There was something else I was going to say on that. The dice being readable. If I can't read your specialty dice, like one guy had it basically look like it was done in Braille, but it was colored Braille and he wasn't blind. I'm like, dude, I can't read that. Count the dots. Like, no, I'm not counting the dots. It's not a D6. It's a D20, and that's a lot of dots. Do
you guys? I think it was Bruce Cordell wrote in the third edition GM Guide 2. The majority of problems that he discussed in the first chapter all led to selfishness, and so. It's funny because we're talking about this, and this isn't the first stream where the gatekeepers have discussed where selfishness kind of kills a table. It kind of kills the mood. It kills the inertia. You have to focus on one person because they're late or their update to Hero Labs isn't working. It's just very disconcerting how one negative personality trait can sour an entire
Well,
table.
I think you're exactly right on that selfishness part, because like, well, I want to do my thing. I'm here to enjoy myself. Well, the enjoyment we're supposed to be having is playing this game. Look, I don't stop anybody from picking up a book. I'm reading some of the chat here. I don't stop anybody from picking up a book or glancing at the phone or whatever. What ends up happening though is, here, did you see this cat meme? This is great. We're at a serious part of the game where everybody's emotional level is supposed to be down or in a different direction, and you're coming out with no, like, just stop it.
Yeah.
It was funny, man. No,
you can actually see a perfect example of that on my channel. When I ran my 100 subscriber special a few years back, I did a one shot of maze rats with a module that I wrote, and one of the guys in there in the middle of the game was on Facebook, and I wasn't aware of it. And then he starts ranting at me about this news story he saw on Facebook, and I had to tell him like 5 times, dude, we're in a game. Dude, we're in a game. Stop. We're in a game. What are you doing? Get the fuck off Facebook.
My players have always been good with that, though. Like, every group that I've run, well, there's a couple of caveats. Any long-term group that I've run, my players have honestly been good with that. I very rarely actually had to be the dick by myself. Yes, and break advice. I just do breaks. Well, first of all, because I'm the dick here. If you don't mind, because can I segue into this?
Go for it.
I'm taking that's yes. All right.
No, we're already in this topic. Like, this is part of the same topic.
Okay. So as far as the breaks go, if you're in a combat, no, you're not taking a break unless we all decide, okay, this combat's going to go on for another hour. We all got to go eat food, smoke a cigarette, whatever. But if you're not in the combat, if you're not there at that time, and you got to go take a leak, or you want to, get a quick bite, sandwich, unless you're driving somewhere, it's going to take you a half hour where you're going to miss out on the next stuff. Look, you do you. Just excuse yourself and go. I mean, hopefully your parents taught you some manners, but just take the breaks that you have to do. Don't sit there and pee yourself. But if you're just like, oh, I'm going to go wander out, I feel like doing something else. You're going to be in a conversation with this person. Oh, my character just stands there. Like, to me, that's disrespectful. It just is. It's just, unless it's an emergency, I just don't deal with that well. But again, I bounce it off the other players. If the other players don't care, I tend to take a little more relaxed attitude about it. But if the other player's like, man, he always steps out right when we need him, I'll talk to him and be like, look, man, you got to stop doing that. This is a group environment. This isn't about you. I couldn't give a fuck less about you, even though you're my best friend. Just like you probably couldn't give a fuck less about me. We're all here to have a good time. It's about the group having a good time. My job as a game master is to present that as best I can. If I'm a player, my job as a player is to be considerate to the game master's world and the other players that are there. It's a social, I hate this term, but it's a social experiment. But that's what it is. You're in a group. And if you feel that you have to be the one individual that does things your own way, sayonara, don't care.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, heathen dog.
Hey, sorry I don't have a camera going, but I'm in my main rig now, and my camera's on the.
No, it's because you're naked and you had to finish one off before you got on here.
No shame.
Shut up. No, everyone finally went to bed, so I can actually talk now.
As long as you're not staring at tentacle porn and not naked, that's fine.
He likes anime. You already know what he's doing.
Oh, God.
50% is still failing, so I can't say it's all good, so whatever.
But yeah, to touch back on the breaks thing, I mean, the way I've always done it in my table is, I'll usually play anywhere from 4 to 8 hours in our games. And if I'm running a game, I tell people, hey, every 2 hours, it's like, we're going to pause. We're going to take some kind of a break. If you got to do a bathroom break, something like that, just like briefly mention, at a time when it's quiet, or especially since I'm usually playing online, type it in the chat. Hey, I'll be right back. Got to use the restroom. Just let me know what's up. Don't just up and disappear on me. Let me know what's up. As long as you're not being disruptive, then it's fine. And like I said, schedule some breaks. Like, the longer you're playing, 5-10 minute break to get up, stretch, walk around every couple of hours, or do something else every couple of hours for a few minutes is a good idea. If you're playing for like 8, 10, 12 hours, especially, take a break in the middle there for like an hour to eat something and, do something that's not the game to refresh yourself. Because
that's a great time to do that is when the GM's trying to calculate XP or when setting up the next, hey, let me draw this stuff out on the map. Guys, go have a cigarette, go do what you got to do. Come back in 5-10 minutes. There are a lot of ways of adding that in.
Well, yeah, but with the whole bathroom thing, I mean, someone says, "Hey, I go to the bathroom." You can't plan for that. Obviously, there's no.
Don't be a woman and have to go every 4 fucking seconds. Hold it.
Hey, no, there's no planning for I gotta pee or I gotta do number 2. You can hold one. You really can't hold the other. It's gonna be bad. So,
and you say you were in the military.
Yeah, thanks. This is the time where a game master can actually start slowing down the pace a little bit while that person is gone, really talking about a scene and engaging everyone else in the ambiance and everything like that while they're having the 5-minute, oh god, I gotta pee, I've been holding it so much it's gonna break the porcelain or whatever. You have the opportunity now. You can take it as an opportunity and really flesh out what everyone is looking at. What everyone is seeing, what everyone is feeling, because of the environment and stuff like that. And when they come back, the person didn't miss anything structurally important, but they did miss an awesome time. You should hold it. Whatever. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Heathen Doug, your mic is jumping up and down in volume.
Yeah, it's hurtling.
Yeah.
That's because I'm awesome.
No. Your mic is not awesome. It's not like you.
Oh wow. That was good. Well, you were worried I was touching myself before. Well.
I never worry or think about you might be touching yourself.
Well, now you are.
Man, I assume you will. We pull iron all the time. That's just what we do.
All right, let's see if I can change my audio settings here. Hang on.
Yeah. So to kind of clarify, I'm okay with allowing this tangent because it sort of does tie in with what we're talking about here at the end, but at least the latter half of that with the pacing thing, because your breaks and how you handle disruptions, all that stuff, that affects the pacing of the game too. It's not directly affecting the leveling side of things, but it can be, like Max said, that could be the time when the GM has to calculate all the experiences given out to everybody and all that stuff when you're taking your breaks. But yeah, in terms of leveling speed and how that can dictate the pacing of the games, I mean, I'll reiterate what I said at the beginning of the game, at the beginning of the stream, how I'm in a group that's doing the milestone leveling, and it really highlighted again why I've very heavily moved away from that, because we finished a session a few weeks ago where we suddenly were given 3 levels, which has never happened before, and the other players were kind of excited about that, and I ended up feeling a little bit cheated, as if, well, here's 3 levels of stuff. Okay, cool. That would be awesome if, to call back to something that was said earlier, if I were playing Diablo, that'd be awesome. But I'm not playing Diablo, and now I just sort of feel like the fun new things that I would have gotten to do with my character are almost immediately made obsolete because I got all of it at the same time.
Well, yeah, I mean, that completely makes sense, because 3 levels is very likely you got a new thing and then another new thing at the same time. You didn't get to appreciate the first new thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and I will give the caveat: the guy who's doing that, he's not the most experienced GM. I think this is like the 3rd game he's ever run. So, it's out there. But yeah, it's kind of startling when you make the leap from level 8 to level 11 in one session. I'm sorry, what?
Well, especially it can have the magic users. I mean, a wizard and a cleric between level 8 and level 11, and that's a huge leap. That is a lot of stuff you gotta mess around with all at one time. That is a lot of your time between then and the next game where you're figuring out exactly what you can do.
And one of our guys is a wizard, and he ended up having that exact problem after the excitement faded. He's like, oh shit, I now have 3 levels worth of new abilities and spells that I've got
I
to
have to
figure
figure
out.
out how to use them. Yep. Okay, so I'm reading chat here again. Look, guys, if you think I don't let people pee, first of all, you take me too seriously when I talk on here. Stop being autistic and fucking learn that internet's full of memes and shit talking. Secondly, yes, you can go pee, but if you're disruptive to the game, get out of my game. There you go. I've said it. Jesus Christ. Like, Max doesn't let anybody pee ever. Yes, I do, but it's on my time. You'll pee once a session, and that is it.
Yeah, he actually made us all learn a specific Max Liao sign language when we had to pee, and we had to tell him, is it going to be 1 or 2, or is it going to be vomiting or whatever? Is it going to be something? And there was a special sign language we had to do to make sure no one else knew, and it didn't interrupt anyone else's game.
Right.
Max, you're gonna love this. About 2014, I was on break from the oil field for a week, and Saturday came, and it was time for me to run my game session. And I told the players, I said, tonight, they said the weather's going to get kind of bad. I do encourage you guys to room together in the spare room upstairs. Therefore, you don't have to worry about driving down the hill and getting your car swamped. Because I lived at a spot in San Antonio where they routinely had a flood. In fact, Texas has problem with flooding all the time if we get too much rain. Anyway,
that's how it happens.
Yeah, exactly. So it rains like a devil, and we get like 8 inches in about 4.5 hours. So the players decide they're going to stop the game at about 2:00 and head upstairs. And one of the families has brought their dog. Well, this married couple brought their dog, and then the other married couple was on the other side of the room, and the dog kept running around, excited about his new living quarters, and it was just a kind of a shit show for those people. I didn't know about this till about 10 a.m. the next day. I woke up at 8 after a 6-hour rest, and I went downstairs to make pancakes, and I was going to rouse the troops, get pancakes, eggs, bacon going. I'm a host. And so I get the breakfast rolling, and one of the married couples says, hey, we're not going to be able to play like you want to. We're going to try to get home because we didn't get any sleep last night because of the dog. What? No, the entire reason why I had you guys here so we could play again for another 12 hours. What the hell's your problem? I'm tired. You're an adventurer. You're always tired. You're never going to be well rested until the adventure's over. When you're in an inn and you're paying a hooker to be a bed warmer, and it's good. Life is great for you. But until then, you were in a state of fatigue for like 2 months. Come on, roll with it. Well, anyway, he quit my game that day.
I miss full-on weekend games.
I do too.
There was one weekend where I did about the same thing, but we were 16, 17, and my parents were on vacation for the weekend, and I brought everyone over. We played a game for like 8
nerd
hours.
D&D party. Couldn't have beer like the rest of the cool
nerd,
kids.
Super nerd. Yeah, I got it. But we played for 12 hours, and then we slept, and then we played again. We played. I didn't get to sleep because I was the game master, so I had to do all this stuff. I went to bed at 3 a.m. on Monday morning, and I woke up on Tuesday afternoon. and this was before you had online. You had smartphones and online stuff. So I go downstairs and I click on the TV. I look in the TV guide. I'm like, that's not on. What the hell is this wrong? Oh shit, I'm on the wrong day. Oh my god, it's fucking Tuesday. I was like, holy shit. And there was a note on my door saying, hey, we came here, we knocked, no one was home. we tried to talk to you, and it was my friends came by the next day, and I was comatose. Basically, I got nothing. I was down for like 26 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with the whole married thing and bringing a dog, that was a red flag. that was really a red flag. I mean, married, bring in your wife is if she doesn't play.
No, all 4 players played.
Okay, all of them played. Okay, well then it's only a yellow flag.
Okay, and the dog, if they live closer and the dog got out of their apartment or house, he would make his way across town to my front door.
If the dog got out of their apartment or house to try and find the owners, that's a really smart dog, and I would probably have it studied.
That dog and I bonded
At
pretty
that
well.
point, you should just give the dog a character sheet.
Yeah, basically. I mean,
What's wrong with that? I like that dog.
I'm just saying,
Bring him into the game at that point. If he's that smart, shit, give him a character sheet. Have him play.
I mean, if a dog is that smart, it's like a 6-year-old, and I wouldn't allow someone to bring a 6-year-old either.
No, dogs are okay. Kids are not. Kids are not okay at the table. I don't care what amount of Benadryl you have in their system. You may not have the kids at my abode when I'm running the game.
Kids get bored too easily. It doesn't matter how well mannered the kid is. Kids get bored too easily.
Yeah. I don't care what type of Benadryl you're feeding the kid. No. Don't
Or DVDs you play. How about that? Or whiskey, whatever.
Bob the Builder only goes so far.
Yeah, right. I kind of want to, if you guys are okay with that, I'd like to bring it back because I got a couple of notes written down here because we talked about different leveling or some different leveling system. What different leveling systems have you guys used? Because we're focusing, I think, pretty heavily on D&D and probably rightfully so. 800-pound gorilla and so forth. I mentioned some Earthbound stuff. You mentioned some Savage World stuff. But what other leveling systems have you used that? Well, let's just which other ones are you aware of that you've used that you've seen either? Doesn't have to be ones you like, just that are interesting.
Well, I mean, I already said it, and apparently you said it before I did. The whole after the session game.
Oh, that's a person. I'm talking actual like full on systems. You like World of Darkness system.
Yeah. The storyteller system that the World of Darkness and definitely I'm not touching 5th edition World of Darkness. Fuck that game. I don't.
Somebody left a comment for you about that, so go find it.
I almost responded to it, but I had too much, Irish up in me on that one, and I didn't want to actually, go full on bitch on that one. So I just let it alone. But the old World of Darkness system was a storyteller system. So what I did with experience with that was at the end of the adventure, quote unquote adventure or session or game or whatever, if you wrote up something that your character learned and you're going to incorporate into your character going forward because of those lessons that you've learned or the experiences that you've had, I give you more experience points for that, because that tells me not only are you paying attention, but you are also divorcing yourself from your character enough to understand that your character would move in this way, even though you personally would not move in that way. And that tells me you're not crazy. So awesome. On top of that. And of course, bribes are always great. You know that. Bribes.
I'm very well aware of that.
Yeah.
Your 2 wall lockers full of Mountain Dew. I'm surprised you have kidneys.
Yeah, I was 19 and 20. Their kidneys didn't matter at that point.
Fair.
Your kidneys could practically filter lead at that age.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Games like Champions and GURPS.
You guys got about that.
I forgot how Champions did.
That one back up.
Yeah, how does Champions do XP? I forget.
I've never played it, so I'm not sure.
Heathen Dog's a Champions expert.
I don't know about expert, but
how does it do XP?
Right,
I forget.
I'm having stream brain right now. I'm completely blanking on it.
I remember how.
Okay, no, it's you get experience points and you spend them to either buy down deficits or gain new powers or increase.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's the whole champions or the hero system in general works like a continuous character generation type thing where unlike D&D where you get like the whole 3d6 and then you do that and then character generation happens like that, and then experience points are worked differently in the hero system. Experience points are just a continuation of the character generation system where you just add more points to get more out of that power, or add more points to get more advantages, or add more points to buy off disadvantages. And that's how it works there.
That sounds a lot like
in other games it works differently. Obviously in D&D you use experience points to just gain levels, and those levels you get these powers or abilities that are given to you. And in the World of Darkness you get experience points, and it is a little, it's similar to character generation, but it's a different mathematic to increase things after character generation. And in Earth Dawn you spend legend points, and it's a rising scale. So the higher your level in a certain power, the more it takes to increase that power. And in Shadowrun, and it pretty much does it does the same thing.
I don't think we need every game system. Jesus Christ, man.
Sorry. Jeez. I'm just saying, many games outside of Dungeons and Dragons use a level progression system that is more akin to the character generation portion than not. D&D is very not part of the character generation system when you're leveling up, where many other games are at least loosely affiliated with the character generation system, where points correlate in some way. Your experience points correlate in some way to your continuing character development, and that's pretty much how it goes.
So the Shadzar made a comment that about players spending XP to have their henchmen hirelings, blah blah blah. That's very similar to, you can do stuff like that in Earth Dawn, at least in the early editions of Earth Dawn, because there are options that are like, hey, if it's something that you can do through your legendary status, why not spend legend points on it?
Right. No. I mean, in Earth Dawn, the cool thing with that is that the higher circle you get, and your total legend points gives you legendary status, which means you can walk into a town and say, "Hey, I am Baldar the Brave," and they're like, "Oh, dude, I heard of you," and then they're more likely to look on you favorably and give you favors, or give you preferential treatment, or come and just want to be around you by carrying your pack or whatever, just because you're awesome, and they're hoping awesomeness rubs off or whatever, stuff like that. It's not the only game that does that, but it's the first one that comes to mind when I
wouldn't
think
say
of that mechanic.
It's not, kind of opposite. It does everything opposite of D&D. D&D, you level up and then you get abilities. This one, you get abilities to level up. You spend legend points on things. You don't spend experience points, at least not by the rules as written. Anybody can do what they want.
Well, right. But the only correlation with D&D that I can think of is when you get to 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th level, whatever, depending on what class you are, you get to be able to make a castle or a keep or a church or whatever.
That's not written into the book. You can do that whenever you want.
No. Actually, in second edition.
Well, maybe second edition, but nobody plays that one.
No.
It might be in second. I'm not sure, but I mean, you can do that whenever you want.
I'm raising my hand, but
Okay.
when you reach 9th level, it's usually the time when you can form a keep or a church or a thieves guild or whatever, and then you get that kind of legendary quote unquote status, to where you can have hirelings and underlings that, I'm sorry, not hirelings, because hirelings are there for the money, but You get apprentices and if you're a cleric or a paladin, you get the faithful who follow you, and they're followers, and they're much more attuned to you. They're much more devoted to you, and they're not going to run from a fight. They're not.
I don't remember any of that being written into Earth Dawn. I do know about the legendary status Alpha through Delta, but I don't remember any of that being written in there. It might be.
No, with that part, I'm talking about second edition AD&D.
You said Earth Dawn.
Well, no, I started with Earth Dawn with the legendary status when people would want to follow you because they've heard stories about you.
I got you.
In second edition AD&D, when you reach 9th level, say as a fighter, you get the opportunity to create a keep or a fort or a castle or whatever, and then you will, once you do that, you get followers. 0 level fighters or first or second level lieutenant fighters who will follow you unto death. They will follow you to the gates of hell because they believe in you and they've heard your stories and all that stuff.
Are you reading out of the manual?
No, I don't have it with me. Like I said, I'm not in the room. My book's in the other room. But all of that stuff is really, really cool flavor that people completely gloss over most of the time, and it pisses me off because when you reach those middle levels, those are the big perks that you get, and it really helps in the I don't want to say progress, but what am I actually thinking of? I'm thinking
nobody knows. Like, everybody's confused in chat.
Everybody's confused. Okay,
because we're not talking about game rules. You're here to spout out game rules.
Okay, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna bring it back to the leveling speed and pacing, where when you reach 9th, 10th, 11th level, you are beginning to be powerful. You are beginning to be a force to be reckoned with. And at that point, you start getting followers according to the second edition AD&D rules. You start getting followers. You start being able to make a keep. You start being able to make a church of you, not church of your own, but a church of your God, which you are head of, a thieves guild. All that stuff. You start getting all that stuff, and this is a milestone for your character, and people should be able to experience that. And a lot of people, including you, Max, you don't like this stuff, but a lot of people like the fact that this is a coming of age type thing where you feel like you're making it now. You're coming into the world. You're making your mark. And
I don't like players using their henchmen to do things.
No.
I'm not talking like simple crap.
These aren't henchmen. These are followers.
No, you do not bring people with you in the dungeon when I am running the game. That is you and only you. If you want to, we pencil whip the fact that somebody's going to go sell the crap for you. I don't care. But you are not sending your henchmen forward to go get killed. That's your job. You're the adventurer.
Yeah. That's you. I'm talking about the game itself.
Okay, right? But that's not what we're talking about.
No. This is part of leveling. This is part of the player feeling like all of their levels are now coming to fruition when they get to the middle of between level 1 and level 20. And they should actually feel like they're starting to make an impact in the world.
Yeah, they're reaching a point where they're reaching a point where they've in the world gained enough notoriety and done enough presumably pretty incredible things that now they're starting to get some fame. Now they're starting to get some clout, and the mechanics of the game are set up like that to help show that, because hey, you've done a lot of stuff. Now you have a chance to get some followers. Now you get the chance to build your castle.
And especially if you keep your leveling speed slow. If you keep your 1/8 leveling speed, like you were talking about earlier, once you reach this point, oh my God, the players feel like, all of that was now worth it. all of that now culminated in this. People know my name. People respect me. People understand that I've been through hell and back, and they want to learn under me. They want to emulate me. And that is a big payoff, especially for a game master who has slow leveling. This is the payoff. At the middle between 1 and 20, around 10, that is the payoff that they get. And then they, oh my God, this is worth the wait. This was worth the wait.
Yeah. So, to touch on another system that I've seen, it's still just a basic experience system, but in terms of the arc that it takes, because this is another system that does the sort of, you only get between like 1 and 3 points depending on what you're due. And that's Questing Beasts Maze Rats. The arc that he puts together is one that I kind of liked playing around with before, where the amount of experience you need to level up is your next level multiplied by your previous level. So level 1, you only need 1 point. Level 2, you need 2. Level 3, you need 6. 4, you would need 12, 520, 630, 742, and so on. So each progressive level of power takes more time to achieve, because you're trying to do bigger and better things. You're going to need to invest more time in that. That was something about his system that, even though it just maxes out at level 7, and I've literally never had a game even go past level 2 in that system.
A lot of that also is and how much XP you get for, say, killing an equal level creature or a group of creatures, whatever. I mean, if killing an orc always gives you 100 XP, then when you're 9th level, that 100 XP it needs to be meaningless. Yeah. But if so some games will actually, and I can't remember which ones, I'm sure I've got some back there because I've seen them, but some games will give you less if that quote unquote challenge rating or word equivalent there of that is less than your level. You only get half the experience that it's worth, and things like that.
D&D 3rd edition / WotC 1st edition does that.
Okay, so that's probably where I got the idea. So you don't always need a lot of experience points. I think, and the whole Dungeons and Dragons experience point thing, needing 1,500 or 2,000 or 5,000 for first level, whatever, comes from the fact that you got gold in there. You got your not just gold, but your treasure. Oh, look, I got a magic dagger worth 1,500 gold. Yay, that's 1,500 experience points. I think a lot of that fit in, because I personally like smaller numbers. But
I'm the same way. I prefer the numbers to be a little bit smaller. It's
meaningful. Like you talked about, I like the way Savage Worlds does it. The 1, 2, 3. Now I think that's not enough, but I'll also, for that system it is enough. But for I'd like to be able to have a little bit more bartering room in there. Bartering is probably the wrong word. In terms of like, you did a good job, but if I give you 1 extra XP, that could tip some balance here. I want to give you a token though. So I like maybe some games that offer like 10 a session. Then if I give you an extra one, it's not game breaking, but you can see it. And again, I'm blanking on a game that does that really well, that where 10 is kind of the ballpark number of what you want. I want to say Heathen Dog ran it for some reason, but I'm not sure what game I'm thinking of.
Well, Star Wars D6, 10 was the ballpark for an adventure that had like 6 specific chapters.
That may have been it. I don't know.
Could be.
There's a lot of comment about Heathen Dog.
Yeah.
Shadzar says that I should have brought some slideshows, and damn it, I do have slideshows for this, but I can't bring it on here. God, get.
Well, Brian Patterson was saying that he would love to watch a video of you doing your dissertation on how leveling should work.
So you give your thesis. We start with a thesis statement, and
Well, I am a third of the way through part 4 of my 4-part series for being able to sit down and play Shadowrun 1st edition. For $8, you can buy the PDF for the main book, and then if you watch these videos, you can just play. Just play. And there's there's all my slideshows right there. It's coming in. Right now I'm the last one, Magic, but that's what I found to be the hardest one, because Magic was errated the most in first edition from all of it. So I'm having a little trouble, but the whole thing about edition wars, I don't really care about. Max likes it. I don't like it so much. But
where did we get on edition wars? What the hell? Are you drunk?
No. Well, yeah, a little bit, but
okay.
But the whole thing, you pick a game and then you go. I mean, nowadays games are like $50, $60, $70 for the main book. I mean, I'm old, right? I'm freaking 45. I can't justify that in my head. But if you go back 20 years to a game that, no one's played before, or no one's heard of, or whatever, you can get that for $4, $5, $6, $8, and then you can have a good time doing that, and you can see how it was done before. I mean, all the stuff we've talked about, leveling speed, pacing, all of the aging stuff, the dungeon crawl, all of that stuff was paced, in my opinion, much more correctly. That's not proper English, but whatever. Much more toward
use your words.
Using my words. Thank you very much. Toward everyone being on the same page, everyone being in the moment, everyone being leveling, not at the same time, but at the same rate, at the same thieves level faster, whatever, blah blah blah, but they don't outpace anyone.
But to be fair, that's indicative of just old school D&D. A different game that's not necessary.
Yeah, that was just an example. But a lot of the older games have a lot of merit with all of the things we were talking about. I mean, first and second editions of games were not bad. Just because they're the latest edition doesn't mean they're better. A lot of times, the latest edition of games are toward people who want to have things like video games, like faster, better, stronger, all that stuff. But a role-playing game is not about that. A role-playing game is not ROLL. It's ROLE for the most part. You should probably want to develop your character rather than develop your level, and the older games have that in spades.
Okay. So because we're getting the questions again on they're trying to figure out the point you're making. So let me see if I can elucidate your point. You're saying that the kind of things that we're discussing here, the tips and suggestions we're discussing here, a lot of these were present in the older editions and helped to set a pace that encouraged investment in the game and in the characters. Whereas, with the faster pace that in particular D&D has now, there's less of that. And I can kind of agree with that, because I've seen just in the last year alone, my friends and I have my friends have tried running about 3 or 4 different campaigns, and every single one of them has failed. And half the time they failed is because whoever was running it was making everything go so fast that when something happened in our lives that forced things to slow down, even just a little bit, all the investment died. All of it.
Yeah, that's a Ferris Bueller thing,
Exactly.
Life moves pretty fast, right? You gotta stop and look around once in a while. But the older games, the first, second edition of games that were 20, 30 years ago, they were paced for, slow. They They were more about the ambiance. They were more about you being in the moment, and that was the fun. Not getting the new power, getting the new level, getting the new ability. It was more about getting people loving you, getting renown, getting known, getting all of the things that that real life, a little bit of real life was put into them.
Mhm.
So you could relate more to the older games because there were milestones not in levels, but there were milestones in I don't know, achievements rather than levels or powers or whatever, so the pacing was slower, and everyone could stop and take a look around and understand what was going on and revel in the fact that their character was there. And that part for modern gaming, for modern games, sometimes is gone. Everyone's looking for the next power. Everyone's looking for the next feat. Everyone's looking for the next skill. They're not appreciating exactly what they've accomplished or what they have.
I think the Year Zero engine games try to bring some of that back, even with the rules light format. They add in it's just how you maintain the relationships with the other characters, which is only one sentence. What you've done. Did you actually not just complete the objective, because the objectives could be a different thing. It treats it a little bit more old school, a little bit more sandboxy than that. But did you complete an objective? Like, if I remember correctly, I think Forbidden Land says something like, did you successfully defeat a challenging encounter is what I think it says.
Mm-hmm.
So it just keeps it generic like that, but forces you to do stuff. It doesn't just say you showed up, there you go, you're the next level.
Right. No, but Palladium does that too. The experience points for Palladium games are, did you defeat a minor menace?
That's right. There's that list of questions.
Menace? What did you do? Did you do something cool, or did you do something meh?
See, but what I didn't understand about Palladium though. Palladium had the thing that I didn't understand, why the experience points tables were different for each class, for each OCC, because it was the same chart. That always kind of just blew my mind. Like, why do you want the characters to be of different levels? Of course, then you got that Heroes Unlimited character that starts at 15th level, but that's a different story.
The Ancient Master starts at 10th level or whatever, but he starts off at 90 years old, so shut your mouth.
He's still with a physical prowess of 32.
Well, yeah, that's because, Ancient Master, come on, man.
Yeah, that's how you break what's that game? Heroes Unlimited. All right. Is Max going to kill James Bond? Yes.
Interesting point by Indigo Dragon. The OGL kind of killed the spirit of the older games by putting the emphasis more on cool new powers and leveling up. I think that's part of it. I think the issue, particularly today, with the boom, boom, rapid fire levels, like fast, part of it is baked into the systems. But I think a really big part of it is just the culture that's sort of formed around it because of the presence of online gaming shows. But like I can think of what was it? Saver Dice, was that the one that had like Cody Lewis and Great GM and all those guys? Yeah, each of those seasons was between like 13 and 20 episodes. That's not that many sessions to be playing a game for an hour each. That's a very short amount of time to be playing through a campaign when you really think about it. It is like ridiculous.
There's some really good chat on this. We don't have the attention span anymore. That's definitely one. Mm-hmm. You got the computer game influence, and computer games aren't bad. I play computer games, but it's a different type of environment. I mean, a computer game, it's hard to get XP outside of just chopping stuff up. yeah, people want it and they want it now. They don't understand that, hey, this campaign, I don't know how Bruce did his in the past, but even Heathen Dog and I, when we were playing together back in the Air Force days, we knew that this game was going to have to last 6 months to a year before we had any expectation of, okay, now we know what we're doing, because we're building into our characters, we're building into the setting, we're building into the story, we're building into everything all together. And to be fair, I'm not talking write a novel, I'm not talking railroad everybody, but if you do read a novel, especially if you read a 3 or 10 book series, that the first 3 chapters of the book don't just solve everything for you. Otherwise, why would you be reading it? So you really have to grow into it. And a good leveling system to me is something that shows me that I'm progressing. And there isn't a de facto standard that I think that every game should use. It shows me that I'm progressing, but also gives me something to reach for. I have that next step. And, using Earth on Drink system I'm raising one talent at a time to get it to a point. To use your Savage Worlds, was it 10? Is it 10 points to get a level? Eventually, you use the one to raise an attribute. I forget. I'm actually asking a question.
I've never played that game. Sorry.
Use a Forbidden Lance. Forbidden Lance, every 5 points you raise something. Well, and add a skill. Everything's a couple different points, but you can see it happening. Even if you have to save up the points, adventure to adventure, level to level, you can see it happening. But ding, here you go.
Hang on. As a game master, you should probably impart on your players that they are on the hero's journey. You start off as a pleb, just like Luke Skywalker started off.
Not anymore, sir.
And then you progress during that, and you should feel that progression, whether it's fast or slow, however you want to do it, but you have to make sure that your players feel that progression of starting off as noobs and then slowly.
People don't want that anymore, though.
Well,
they don't understand why they're noobs. Like, any farmer could do this. Yeah, you started off. That's why we call it off the farm game. 0 to hero. That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be 0 to hero, but now it's hero to superhero. Okay, no, you're supposed to start as a schmuck. You're the apprentice that just graduated with his GED from wizard school. Don't screw up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about that, because I completely agree with you on that one. I mean, level 1 is level 1, man. That is the lowest level. You are nothing. You are just graduated from Thieves School or Wizard Academy or the fighter equivalent or whatever, and you should not feel like you are the greatest thing since sliced bread.
You have to earn it.
Yeah, you should feel the need to prove yourself. You should feel the need to progress, and you have to, as a game master, you have to read the room, and you have to level up your people the way they want to be leveled up to a point. You want to the way they want to level, and then bring it back a little bit to keep them wanting more. That's the leveling speed and pacing that most characters will like. They don't want, no matter what they say, they don't want to be level 20 really fast. They want to be challenged. They want to trudge through some of it to feel like they accomplished something.
I got a question.
Oh, Bruce lives.
I got a question here. Have you guys ever had a game that you're running and half the table feels it, but maybe 1 or 2 or even 3 other people at the table, they don't? And
yes.
while you're in downtime or while you're between sessions, those 3 figure out a way to car salesman a deal with the other players where we're not going to play in this plot right now. We're done with this ineffable pit of damnation you've got us in, and we're leaving the dungeon, or we're leaving the moat house, or we're leaving the Isle of Dread, and we're going to go find adventure elsewhere. We're going to go find something elsewhere, and we'll come back to this and we're higher level. How do you guys handle that? Because I have my own theory of how I handle it, but I want to hear the three of you gentlemen on that.
I was fighting with a bookshelf, and my headsets were unplugged for half of what you said. Sorry.
No. I got one word for that one. Bob.
Well, wait, what? Bob? What? Okay, what happened? Can you paraphrase? Did he say?
I
every fight?
get it. No, he was talking about where part of the table was with you, and they're with the progression, they're with the adventures, they're all there, but some other part of the table is like, no, this is not for me. This is not happening the way I want it to happen. And I tried to solve that with Bob.
Oh, in your game, definitely. Yes. I
tried to solve that with Bob. This was a Old World Darkness. This was Mage campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob was not progressing the way he thought he should be progressing. And I tried to solve that with a stick and a carrot at the same time. Yeah, because he was getting things that no one else was getting, but I had to punish him psychologically for his character. I had to punish his character. It's like, not him. I wasn't, torturing him or anything. I wasn't waterboarding Bob. I wasn't waterboarding
I was
Bob.
there. I just won't spill because the same thing might happen to me.
Okay. But, I gave him something, and then I gave him some bad things on top of that because it would unbalance the dynamic with everyone else. And that just didn't work. It didn't work at all. And he left the game. So he left the game.
Well, he left the game because he felt that, he could smart off to somebody that was much, much, much more powerful to him, and that he was a hero in a story. And when you didn't let him smart off to effectively what was God, we'll just say, he didn't appreciate that, and he was wrong. And I told him he was wrong, and he's like, "No, we're heroes in a story." He told me that through my Earth Dawn campaign as well. We're heroes in a story. We should always win. And so he got eaten by a wyvern.
Okay, well, that was your game, but
he said it about yours too.
He smarted off to God. You're right. And God taught him a lesson.
No, he just thought that you were being a dick. I know where you're coming from because I agree with you, but he thought he was just like, no.
Yeah, he thought I was being a dick, but God taught him a lesson by teaching him everything he learned in the first 300 years of God's life. And he got a whole lot of free points on his character, free, abilities. But he also got the baggage that came with, God's, tribes and tribulations while he was mortal. And Bob didn't appreciate that, and he decided to leave anyway. But what I found with that is that there are some people you just can't please. There are some people that want the game the certain way, and they want to level at their pace, and it's just not conducive for the entire group. And
or they want to use their power unfetteredly. They just want to use it willy-nilly, like there's no consequences for it.
Right. They want it their way or the highway. And when it's one person versus the group, it's the highway. That's how it is.
So I've had two situations where I've seen something like this happen. One of which ended up following the course that you mentioned, Bruce. The other was actually that course flipped on its head. The instance in which it followed that course was a group I was in. My friends and I were playing Pathfinder First Edition, and I think we were playing an adventure module. I don't although I can't remember which one. It was a friend of mine from overseas who was running it. And the whole thing we were sold on was, high seas adventure, classic pirates, all that kind of stuff. And then the entirety of the first session was the group doing menial tasks, deck swabbing, all these skill challenges that were just needless, boring, busy work. And one of the players got so fed up with it that he was just like, can I just jump off the boat and swim to a nearby island? I'm going to jump off the boat and swim to a nearby island. And he just literally just jumped off the boat and swam away. And the GM just didn't know what to do at that point because I didn't plan for this, because he was the most visibly unhappy with the way things were going. So he was just like, yeah, I'm just going to go check this island out over here, and left. And then the rest, the other 2 players that were there ended up following him. And the GM's like, okay, I guess we're doing this now, because nobody left him really a choice other than, stop playing, which was a bit of a dick move. But
there's always sea monsters. I mean,
exactly. There's always sea monsters. There's always the Megalodon or the Leviathan.
Megalodon is always preferable in that situation, I might add.
Yes. The other situation that where this was flipped on its head was a situation where there was one player who was disruptive. He was playing, I think, again, it was Pathfinder, and the dude was playing a dwarf barbarian whose intelligence was in the shitter. He had like a 3. And he would play the character up like he thought he was some high society aristocrat and just annoy the other party members. And so the 2 people I knew was a couple of mutual friends of mine. They were telling me about this game, and it was all played online. So they were showing me the logs of this stuff happening. And this guy's just sitting there being openly antagonistic to everyone in the group. Everyone's getting sick of it, but the other 2 people that were there, other than my friends, were too polite to say anything, and the GM was just trying to make it work, because this was all within the second session that things started boiling over. And they ended up having enough of it when this dude decides to actively attack my friend's character for waking him up when they were going to leave to go to their destination. And so they were just like, my 2 friends were like, fuck this, we're done. We're leaving. We're leaving this party. And all the other people came with him. They ended up just kicking the dude out because he was such a disruptive force, because the group decided, we're done playing with you. Get the fuck out. So, positive instance of that situation happening.
I've been pretty lucky in my games where I haven't had too much of that. The only one that comes to mind that was somewhat ruinous to the game was when I was running TMNT one time. I'm not sure if Heathen Dog was in this one. The group got too big, but there's a guy named Mike who joined our group for a while. And he brought in this combat chicken. And I don't normally allow characters from previous games because I don't trust previous game masters to have control. And of course, I probably shouldn't have. But at the same time, I use the modern weapons guide of penetrating value and bullets kill you.
God.
And
I got shot in the neck. I know how you do that.
Well, yeah. Well, this was. I'm not sure if you were in this one. Do you remember Mike's combat chicken?
No,
okay, yeah. Shares probably will. But he brought in this combat chicken, thought it was God's gift to the world, and it was. But man, that thing was the equivalent of a Rift's juicer as far as I was concerned. He was just acing everything. But I finally hit him. And I hit him with a pretty high-powered rifle, and I basically said, you see feathers going everywhere because you're just a puff of smoke right now because that thing just messed you up. And he was so pissed that he decided that the entire rest of the game that he was just going to be completely disruptive. He wasn't actually dead, but he was messed up because apparently nothing could touch him. Nothing had ever hit him before. And since I was using this rule, and he played a couple of sessions with this rule, but the other players in the group were getting a little annoyed by the combat chicken because he fucked with everybody in the group. This is still when I kind of allowed that stuff. Messed with everybody in the group, messed with everybody outside the group, messed with every NPC, messed with me as the game, whatever. But I ended up getting a shot off on him, and then man, did he turn into a little punk. Yeah, he didn't show up again. Palsy Bear, yeah, Palsy Bear is a different story. That was actually when that was the same adventure when Heathen Dog got shot in the neck.
Yeah.
It's like, put a tourniquet on it. And the two medics both fumbled their medical roll.
Yeah.
Looks good.
You don't need to go over that. We don't need to go over that. That's fine.
So I think we can go ahead and finish up. We got a question from Josh Davis here. Everyone on this live stream, what are your views on starting campaigns or adventures at higher than level 1? If you do, what level, and how does this affect the leveling place you personally run at? I'd say let's go ahead. Again, we haven't heard as much from Bruce. So Bruce, you want to tackle this one first? Bruce, you're muted.
Bueller. Ferris Bueller.
You have the boomer clip, the okay boomer girl. Can you ever dance around for a little bit? Because I just boomered that. Okay. So my favorite campaign that is a purchased product is the Slumbering Tsar Saga by Greg Vaughn. It starts the players off at 7th level. And it goes all the way up to 20th, maybe beyond. And the first thing that happens is the players have been traveling for weeks to get to this location that nobody else goes to. It's in the middle of a desolate area. Think of it like Midland when the oil barrel drops to about $10, and you'll understand that if you're a Texan. But nobody goes here, and the players get there, and a hill giant, fresh from an ambush, has made his way into town. And as everybody is looking at the players, they're going inside their own little places. The players see like a temple to Nurgle. There's a inn that's made of mud. I mean, this place is a pit. And all of a sudden, they get attacked by this hill giant who's got levels of barbarian, and he's using power attack to just cleave into the players. Just decimate them, 20, 30 hit points at a time per hit. And if they manage to beat that guy and render him to where he can't fight anymore, if he's still alive, he will blubber out. He got attacked by a group of assassins, and the rest of his mercenary band, his friends, were killed. But the players that I've ran through this 3 separate times have never gotten that, and those assassins come back later. In fact, they're the guides that run, and they appear as rangers and druids that are in the camp outside this town called the camp. After the players kill the hill giant off, these gnomes that have the only inn in town tell the players, hey, look, you guys look like you're in bad shape. And they're cutting up some rabbits and throwing garlic in the stew pot. Why don't you come by the inn and take a load off? We've got some grog, and you can drink, and you can just rest up. And if you have any healing spells, you can go ahead and cast those. But you can stay here for a few extra gold if you have any gold. And so the players do that. And that night they eat this stew pot full of spoiled rabbit and garlic. The garlic covers up the smell of the spoiled rabbit, and it won't show up on a divination spell because spoiled is not poison. So don't go there. So the GM will declare, I need a fortitude save. And everybody has to roll. This is your ability to see who goes to the bathroom first. Lowest roll loses. You're in the crapper. You're in the latrine. And behind you, one of the gnomes who's got levels of assassin is stealthy, and he slides open his little secret compartment door, and he knifes that guy in the kidney. This is the greatest adventure I've ever ran. And I've ran it 3 times, but it starts at 7th level, and the players are so shocked by the audacity of a DM to start the game and try to kill him with a hill giant barbarian, and then have 3 gnome assassins attack them in their sleep at the inn they're staying at. It's the greatest module ever. So if you want to know what I pimp out the Slumbering Tsar Saga. And it starts you at 7th, not at 1st level. There's other options if you want to start those characters at 1st. Go find them. But the Slumbering Tsar Saga is my favorite. I have no problem running it. It is a deadly haul and it is a slow slog to 20th level, and my players have never beat it because the last group of players that played it, they got so pissed off at the damned city filled with undead and necromancers and crafters that they quit. And then the undead started sieging the towns and villages around where the players lived, and they decided to rage quit that campaign. Pussies.
All right. Let's go with Max this time.
I forgot the question. No, so for D&D, I'll start characters sometimes higher than level 1. So there are a couple things that come into play. First of all, if I know the group. So let's just say it was, the group that you hear a bunch about from Heathen Dog and I from the 90s. Sure, I could start that group at level 5, level 7, level whatever, because I understand the group, the dynamic, the players, and so forth. If it's not that, if they're players I know, I could probably do it. I don't typically like to do that because I use the first 3 to 5 levels as learning the players and how they're going to play that character in the game. You need a few sessions to make a few adventures to make that happen. But other games, I don't typically start higher than whatever the base game is. And a lot of other games don't even need to. So I like to say start at the beginning and let's just play through it. Those low levels, low power things aren't going to be boring. To be fair, I think D&D, maybe Palladium second because of its age, are some of the slowest leveling games at the low levels. That's not a bad thing. I'm just saying that it is what it is. So skipping 3 to 5 levels might not be such a bad thing in those, for your group. Your mileage may vary. I don't like to do that. But the other thing is one shots. For one shot, I don't care. Here's a level 15 one shot. Let's do it. But not for a campaign. And then lastly, dead characters. If your character dies, your new character comes in at usually 1 to 2 levels lower than what your character was before he died. 1, because you're not going to start the same level because you're not going to start with the same power. 2, I want you to understand that, if your character dies, that could be a detriment to you, the group, and everybody else. And that even goes for characters like, I don't want to play this one anymore. I want to play something else. All right, well, starting 2 levels lower. Depending on what the group is and what your character is, a couple factors come into that. But other than that, no, I try to start at the base if I can.
Yeah. Heathen Dog?
All right. Starting at level 1 is basically the default for me. I mean, I will say that I'm with Max Leal with if you know your players and they played this game a lot, you can start a one shot or a singleton adventure, just for funsies at higher level, and that's fine. And that's generally fine. But if you don't know your players and you don't know their knowledge of the game, then starting at level 1 is just the best thing you could possibly do. Pretty much all the time. So yeah, that's basically it for me.
For me, there's a couple of caveats. I am on board with you of you guys in the caveat of if you know the players and you know the system that you guys are going to be using well, starting above level 1, it's okay. I generally don't do it, but from time to time I have, usually, again, for one shots. The other times I have, though, were occasions where I'm trying to stress test systems. In particular, especially if it's a derivative system, something like I've mentioned PDM's Deathbringer before. I mean, that's a D&D derivative. It's D20 system. We know the D20 system. It's easy enough to figure out. I've run that a couple times using modules that were set, like 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th level to stress test that system because he's actively looking for stress tests. Situations like that, those are times I'll do it. But generally speaking, most of the games that I run these days, there's no reason not to start at level 1. Savage Worlds, there's not really any reason for me not to start at level 1 because you're going to get some cool shit at level 1 anyway. You're going to get cool shit. as you advance, you're going to get more cool stuff. As your rank goes up, you're going to get more cool stuff. You're going to be getting neat stuff and building. Like, part of the fun with that game is supposed to be building your character the way you want to build him. So build your character the way you want to build him and do it from scratch. It's a little more exciting that way. But yeah, generally speaking, I don't do it. You can. Your mileage will vary from person to person. I find that it usually does not have a major impact on how I handle leveling, because I don't really change the way I handle leveling just because I'm starting somebody off at higher level. If I'm starting you off at higher level, it's because really and I'm doing a campaign, I should specify, it's because I want to start the campaign at a very specific point that wouldn't really work at first level. Like the one that Bruce was mentioning, the Slumbering Tsar saga. Starting off your campaign like that with first level characters is not going to work. You won't be coming back from that. What was that?
It's just a hill giant barbarian.
Yeah, it's just a hill giant barbarian and 3 gnomes trying to assassinate you that are all 2 levels higher than you.
Come later, after you've had the spoiled meat of the rabbit.
Yeah. But
and I don't want to run that scenario too badly, because Max, I want to keep him non-vomity.
I would vomit?
Okay. It's Bruce running it, and the rabbit and the garlic stew slides down your throat rather easily.
Want my Hassan pepper?
You have a few glasses of grog. These gnomes aren't bad. They can do some brewing. A few hours later, you go to bed, and as you're laying on your side in their little cots, you feel your stomach kind of bloat out a little bit, and so you squeeze a fart out. And everybody starts to kind of laugh because the DM's doing fart jokes. And then I ask people for a fortitude save. They're like, oh, fuck, I knew it was poisoned. Why didn't it show up as poison? It wasn't poisoned. Just roll me a fortitude save. That's all I need. What's going on? You're having a fortitude save. Bob, you have the farts, by the way. Big, long, trumpety farts. Moist ones. And they're like, oh, God, Timmy, what'd you roll in your fortitude save? A 6. I think I rolled the lowest. Is that after your bonuses? Yeah. Okay, well, about 2 hours later, everybody else is snoring, and you get up to go to the bathroom. I need you to make another fortitude save. You get about 3 steps away from the toilet, and you lose it. You lose the fight. So you get to the toilet, and you're letting it all go. And you sit there for about 20 seconds while you contemplate on the tree of woe. And I make a few die rolls, make the players nervous, and I say, make a perception check. And no matter what they roll, unless they roll like a 42 or better, they're not going to beat the assassin who is behind them using invisibility. They have to roll really high. So while the guy's there pooping things out and he hears everybody else snoring, he gets a rib will feel the sharp point of the death attack from behind as the gnome tries to take him out, take out the floating ribs, get the kidney, all that. And just the description that I used to use as the organs would slide down the person's skin and they kind of panic. And you might want to grab that before it goes in the toilet. That's what I'm referring to, where you might vomit. Like you see part of your body going.
No, I'm just picturing. Now I know how the guy in Clerks actually died.
That's the real reason Dante's girlfriend was shocked. It wasn't the fact that she accidentally screwed a dead guy. She saw the gnomes.
Wow.
They were watching through little holes in the wall.
She unpacked him from her purse.
Well, gnome illusionist, there's a glory hole for you.
I'm
classing up the place.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, that happened.
Hey, we're well over 2 hours though.
Yep. We're almost at 2.5 hours, but I mean, yeah, I think we've covered these topics all pretty well. So, any final thoughts on this? Well, the topic was supposed to be leveling primarily. Primarily, it was going to be experience versus milestones, but I expanded it into the leveling process and the effects of the pace on the game. We've gone we've gone way beyond the ballpark.
We went out of the park and came back, though.
I'm going to try and bring it back to the leveling speed and pacing.
Okay.
Leveling speed, it should be, I don't want to say slow, but slower than the players want it. Not greatly slower, but just slightly slower than the players want it, because it gives anticipation. It gives something for them to look forward to.
Make them want it more.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to feel it. They're going to feel it when it happens much more than if it happens very quickly. They're going to viscerally feel it for their character, which is great. But that has to be the game master's judgment on the table. You have to be a good enough game master to judge that, which is fine. Fine. If you can do that, that's good. Pacing. Pacing is a little bit of a different thing. I mean, pacing with an adventure, pacing with a campaign, pacing with an arc, all of that is fluid. Really fluid, especially if you're playing with a game that has level requirements for certain things, like I said earlier, with the whole AD&D, and you when you reach a certain level, you get the ability to have a keep or a church or a thieves guild or a magic school or whatever. All of that pacing has to be pretty much given by the game master, and it depends on your table. Really depends on your table and the people who are there and how they're going to react to it. But taking all of that aside, fast leveling, and I don't mean what your players think are fast leveling. I think what the game master thinks is fast leveling is always bad. Always bad. Because every single player on there is going to struggle with the new abilities they're going to have, and you have to give them time to learn and adapt to the new things that they have now access to. So you as a game master have the hardest job with this leveling speed and pacing thing, because you have to tailor it to the people at your table at the time. You have to slow it down or speed it up depending on the attention span or the ability or the knowledge of the people at the table. So if you have new people, you have to slow it down a little bit more. You have to slow it down so they understand all of the things they're learning, all of the things they're gaining, and learn how to use them in the appropriate ways, or maybe even the creative ways. But if you have experienced players at the table, you can increase your pacing, you can increase your leveling, because you know that they understand all of the things that are going to happen as you increase in level or as you increase in ability. And so you can go faster. You can be more damn it, I lost it. You can be more proactive, and you don't have to wait for them to catch up. So it really is, you have to read the room. You really have to read the room on everything you do with every single group that you have. And that is really on the game master. And well, a lot of people don't understand. I mean, I read on online where, like, oh, game masters has to do this, game masters have to do that, everything is fine. And no, it's not. The game master has to read the players so much to keep the pacing correct to where no one is too far ahead, no one is too far behind in knowledge and in ability, and they don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
And they really should appreciate the ability of the game master to keep everyone on the same page, to keep everyone leveling at the same, not quite at the same rate, but at the same pace. Thieves will level faster, but they don't have the ability that other character classes do at the exact same level. So they should, pace faster than everyone else. Mages should pace slower because they have to study more. They have to do all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. But if everyone knows that a mage is an investment that pays off at higher levels, then you can pace it faster. But if they don't know that, then you have to teach them that through your leveling speed and pacing. You have to teach them that and have them understand that all of this stuff comes with time.
I have an idea. I'm going to couple on to what he just said there. A lot of games ask you to give the amount of experience points at the end of a encounter or at the end of a session to your players. I'm going to tell you that's optional. You as a GM don't have to do that. You can keep track of it yourself. There's plenty of different player aids and DM aids out there. You can write it down, keep it secret from the players. Don't let them know how close they are to leveling. Just tell them when I tell you to level up, it's going to be time for you to probably level up. I know that sounds kind of alien to a lot of people, but as a GM, everything between the covers of whatever game you're playing, every rule or guideline is just that. It's a guideline. And if you want to, you can rewrite it for your own table. You can have house rules reflecting back on a previous stream. You don't have to give the players any notification of how close they are to leveling. You can keep that secret. And whenever things happen to where, hey, we're going to be spending some time alone or time in town for a while, for about another month and a half, while we're doing that, I'm going to need all of you guys to level up because you have accrued the amount of experience required for this. Also, it's going to cost you so much money, this much money, if you're going to live extravagantly. If you're going to live on ramen noodles, it'll cost you this much. But you need to understand that there's going to be a cost to you staying in town and drinking every night, which is probably what you do, unless you're doing something else. By the way, you will have no time for about 3 weeks, so don't be planning to do any crafting whatsoever for at least 21 days. It's an idea. You don't have to do it.
Yeah. No,
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of game masters can say that they don't even have to tell the players how many hit points they've lost.
Yeah,
they can just tell them that, oh, they're bleeding from their liver, or oh my God, you got slashed through your gut and you have to hold in your organs, and that's the only thing that they have to tell them how many hit points they've lost. You can do that too, but again, that is the game master reading the room.
yes.
Do your players really want that kind of experience, or do they want the more numbers experience? And that will determine how much fun that the players are going to have and how successful your campaign is going to be.
As a GM, if you can read your players right and they will allow you to do such, go for it. Because I think you'll probably have more fun if the characters aren't worried about pneumastics or the number theory, and they just get into character. They get into your world. They get invested.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Indigo Dragon hit on a point that I was actually about to say too, is like, keeping the experience point secret to the players, it's gonna feel like milestone style advancement, even though it's actually not.
I said that, but my microphone was muted when I said it. It's like that's GM milestone.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do that. I'm just saying that it's something that you can try at your table. It might not work for your table.
Yeah. I might actually give that a try the next time around. See how it pans out. I'm always interested in trying new things.
I like it whenever players say, "Listen, we want to try something different this campaign or this adventure. We want to, instead of going into the dungeon of ineffable damnation and pain, we were thinking about we had to do some things in town." And at that point, the thief character, after everybody else gives me what their orders are, what they're wanting to do, the thief character makes it a point he's going to try and he's going to pickpocket or he's going to do thiefly things. He finally gets to do his rogue stuff and he's happy. And that entire situation of events gets all the other players in trouble and they end up getting enough experience points to where they might actually level. Now, this is okay for some tables, but I don't like to have the players advance too far out of their league to where they can't continue the same adventure where they were at from week to week. Like, I don't want to have a 10-point level or 10 level discrepancy between last time we went this dungeon and this time we went in this dungeon, but you kind of have to do that. Or you have to forego it, and the players have adventured around for 6 months and they've done things to where they have totally side quested themselves onto a new plot line. And they get back around to what they were doing at level 4 or level 5. And they're like, we're going to steamroll this shit. No, that's not what happens. As a DM, prepare before game. Start statting up bad guys as if they were 2 or 3 or 4 levels above the player characters. And give them the ultimate beatdown. Give them a rough beatdown. And if the players manage to survive or even win, let them know a narrative like, well, these new people came into town and they steamrolled these 6 or 7 hideouts and they gained a lot of power in the process. And you guys didn't know about it because you were busy crafting or leveling up or pursuing what it was like to be a father or stuff like that. And I'm not going to try to go on the joke where Daddy left because he said he was going to get scratchers. Don't go there. That'll trigger some players. Don't do it. But I just thought that would be something that you could try, but don't let your characters get too far off on their own quote unquote side quests and get away from your narrative that you want to play. Kind of make that to where it starts becoming a problem. Like, you guys could have killed off this necromancer when he was small time 6th level. Now, fucker's 14th level, and you guys just made name level, and he's got about 4 towns worth of zombies. And he's getting ready to sack this place. Have fun.
That's part of how my timelines work.
Yeah, consequences
Yeah.
for the decision.
Yeah.
Setting up. I've.
Uh-oh. He said he liked, and the internet did not appreciate him liking anything.
Nope. Can't have that in California.
Okay. Every time, of course, it had to hit me once before this ends. But I like the way how Pundit puts it. How you set up the history of your world. Your players can affect that history by interacting with the event, the events that you have said. These are events that are absolutely happening, and future events can then springboard off those depending on how the players engage with them. So if you don't kill the necromancer when he's only level 6, then yeah, he's going to come back at 14th level and have 4 towns worth of zombies and overrun your ass.
So like I was saying, when I talk timelines, that's one of the things that I incorporate in my timelines, because I actually want the players to invent or go do something on the side. I want them to engage in the world their way to some degree, while still saying, okay, this is the greater overarching story, if you want to call it, or narrative or thing that's happening on the world, whatever term you prefer, whichever one isn't going to trigger you. But if you don't engage with it, it is still going to happen whether you like it or not. if you do engage with it, you might not be powerful enough at every step of the way. So, you hit the first floor of the dungeon, the item you want, or you believe the item you want is in there. It might be 2 or 3 floors down, but you start going to that next floor. That's where the real bosses start kicking in. Maybe you need to level up a little bit. Maybe go do something on the side and come back to it. That sounds very video gamey, but I'm trying to be simplistic for this.
Right. I mean, but I do understand that players want to have their little side campaigns. That's why I've said before that every player gets their day. I mean, every player will have a game session that is centered around them or their personal arc, because I want the player to identify with their character enough to where they care. And if they do this too much, or they forsake a mission for getting married or whatever, and then the big bad gets stronger and comes at them, they have more impetus to sacrifice more to get this done, because they have a wife and kid at home and they have to save them, and when that character dies succeeding in stopping the big bad, they will not feel bad about that, because they saved their fictional wife and kid and family and whatever, and players actually end up liking that. I have died in campaigns and not been mad about it. I mean, Max knows that I had a Beastmaster who died fighting
cavalryman.
I'm sorry, cavalryman. Sorry, I'm sorry. Died fighting what I believe a monster we shouldn't have been facing, but I died in a way where I was saving my fellow adventurers, and I had my character had emotional ties to them, so in doing so it actually made me feel good about that. So giving characters the time to build their character backstory during that during time, rather than facing the big bad right away, can not necessarily be a bad thing, because then they can sacrifice themselves and be heroes, dying as saviors of their family and friends and adventurers, and they are emotionally invested, and the player, not the character, the actual player, will feel satisfied with that, and they'll be happy playing with you again, because they felt that this was an awesome thing and it was part of the leveling process, and this was part of the story that they helped create, and it made them feel like they had done something, and it just makes happiness all around. And those are the campaigns that many people in my experience really, really like, and they
and remember
more.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that sticks with you. Yeah. I had a miniature encounter with something like that in a one shot that I ran a couple of years ago. One of the ones I was doing a stress test on, and I had everyone roll up 2 characters just in case. I told them, hey, this is going to be dangerous for your characters. The character's probably going to die. Roll up 2 of them, so that way if one of them dies, we can work out a way to get your other character in a couple of rounds of combat if the fight's still going on, and then you can keep playing. Everyone played super smart, did really well, strategized really well together, but in the final fight, the group's fighter ends up dying. He literally got ripped in half, but it just so happened the area where they were fighting in was real close by to where the other characters are, and he had set it up that, oh yeah, my backup character is my main character's son. And so he was way into this whole thing when his character ends up getting literally ripped in half. He's like, well, Sonny Boy just saw his dad get ripped in half. He's gonna pick up his dad's sword and start hacking at this thing as hard as he can.
Father, I will avenge thee. Yeah,
exactly.
Then you just rip the kid in half and just say it's a family tradition.
Oh,
no, Rat, the literal red-headed bastard stepchild, actually did kill the thing. It was the dice were in his favor.
That is a good story. That is awesome. That actually brings characters together, and that is the best story you can hope for. You really can't plan for it, obviously, because there are die rolls and there are randomness in all of these games. But when you set up something and it ends up being a T-ball shot, like it ends up being super easy, and everyone can gather around and rally like that. That is not only amazing for the players, but is amazing for the game master as well, because you feel like that you've done something good. Everyone's had a good time, and even though someone died, that everyone understands. And they take that emotional impetus and move it forward. And that, for a game master, is the most amazing thing you can do in the process of a game. Not only leveling, but just in the advancement of the story. That is amazing. And that is a great example.
Yep. Yeah. So Max, any last thoughts from you on the leveling process, pace of the game?
Well, I was going to specifically go back to the beginning, XP versus Milestones. I can wait if you want me to.
No, go for it.
Okay. So first of all, I had to write down a couple of notes there to make sure, because I'm tired now. I actually have to work in the morning, but both are good for the right type of game. I don't tend to like Milestones specifically, other than to put them in, like I talked about at the beginning of the stream, where I said I will give you got this set of information. There's 25 experience points. You cleared this other area. That's 100 experience points, something like that. So technically, those are milestones, but it's not milestone leveling. I don't do that. One of the things I noticed. What's that? Yes, milestone experience. Exactly. One of the things I thought of, and I haven't mentioned this before, I don't think, but it's something I do in D&D more than anything else. So I actually haven't done it in a while. But is when you level up, your first couple of combats are going to be against planned combats, not the random stuff that could be anything. But planned combats are going to be against creatures of the same level you've been fighting. And it's intentionally done so that you can feel your new power. Now, if you're rolling bad, you're still rolling bad. Sorry, but you can see how that extra spell helps out, or that spell level, if you got that, helps out. You can see how your -1 to hit is now a little better. It's still going to be a challenge because it's only one level difference, or hit die in my case. But it's something to say, there you go. Let's show it off a little bit before I start putting the things that are even a little bit more powerful against you. And D&D, it's not that big of a deal, but it's something that I've completely forgot that I like to do in my D&D games. And then finally, the way I actually give out my XP, Heathen Dog may remember this, although I've tweaked it a little bit, is I give out a slip of paper that actually has your XP on there. I do it for two reasons. One, players are going to talk. I don't care. But I'm keeping your experience points private because I put little notes on there like, hey, great job. Loved it when you did this. Or, hey, next time wake the fuck up when we're playing the game. Don't be late, whatever. Like I'll put stuff in the middle. But it also allows them to put on there what they learned for the character, for their characters in the group. And then I will take that and I'll just stuff it. I don't know about you guys, but one of the things that's really irked me since the 80s, I don't really run into it as much anymore, but people used to cheat like crazy. It's why I'm paranoid about dice rolls. It's why I'm paranoid, or I shouldn't say paranoid, but I don't, you're going to roll the dice in front of me. It's why you're not going to have the books there. It's why I'm going to see your hit points. It's why, because people would cheat, and I just don't understand that. But so yeah, I keep it because I also know people used to cheat on the experience you get. Wait, how the hell did you go up a level at the same time as the thief? That's what you gave me. There's no way I gave you 5,000 experience points in the same amount of time I gave him 2,500. You did. So yeah, I've had that happen before. So I keep little slips. But other than that, yeah, I think everything we talked about today is interesting. I think there's some tidbits that we can take from how each of us does. But use the right tool for the game. We've talked before about using the right game as the right tool. If you're playing Savage Worlds, don't try to incorporate Dungeons and Dragons experience points. If you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, don't try to incorporate Savage Worlds experience point. That's one of those things where it's like you start breaking character classes and you start breaking not the game necessarily, but just play the game the way it's intended to be played. That's why it's done that way. And that's one of the few house rules that I'll push back on if people start messing around with XP too much. Like, I don't use the chart. It's just 1 through 20 for me, and when I give you a point, you level up. Oh, no.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that covers things pretty well. So we'll go ahead. Damn, almost 2 hours and 45 minutes. I think it's good enough time for us to go ahead and end it here. Just quick shout outs, everyone. Of course, Max and Heathen Dog are from the Legion of Myth channel. You can find them on YouTube and on Twitch. I will post pinned comments on the video once I put it up live to the channels of everyone who joined me here. And naturally, Bruce Lombardo of Dick's Division. You can find him by searching exactly that on YouTube. Again, links will be in the comments once this goes live. I hope you all enjoyed watching. Hope you all enjoyed being here. Thank you for joining the Gatekeepers. Yes, Max is making more merch. He now has a Gatekeepers t-shirt available, which I'm sure he'll plug on the next one that he hosts if he ever hosts one again.
OGGM's selling it as well. I don't know the link to the OGGM's channel, but and by the way, that is next week. If you want to announce what next week is OG.
That's right. Let me bring it up. I don't know. Has he picked a topic yet?
I've got it here. So OGGM is going to be on Wednesday because we alternate Wednesdays and Tuesdays. So Wednesday, November 3rd at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. OGGM Adventures. I don't know the link to his site right now. Oh, actually, I've got it right there. I guess I can put it in there. But dungeon design and the fine art of adventure mashups.
That's right. I don't think I'm going to be available for that one because I think I've got another thing. I think I'm busy with something else that night. But if I can make if I can make it, I definitely want to get in on that one because that would be a good talk. But yeah, that'll be hosted on OGGM's channel. And again, pinned link, comment down below. So yeah, thanks for joining everybody. And we all hope you have a wonderful evening.
Good night, everyone.